All right, good evening, everyone. This is our regular council meeting of March 11, 2026. It is 6:30 p.m., and I will call the meeting to order and acknowledge that all members of council are present, with the exception of Councillor O'Leary. This evening, we had no closed sessions, so we are in open session at 6:30 p.m. I will state the township land acknowledgement before we begin. The township of Adjala-Tosorontio is situated on the lands within Treaty 18, being the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples, including the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. This land is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge Indigenous peoples as stewards of the land, and we honor their resilience as well as their culture, and of our shared respect for the lands, plants, and animals and waterways which sustains us all. We recognize the injustices against Indigenous peoples and are mindful that the decisions of government impact our shared land and all the inhabitants. We commit to reconciliation as a journey to foster Indigenous cultural awareness and educational opportunities, establish respectful and healthy relations with Indigenous peoples, continue to steward the land and its inhabitants, and to cultivate an inclusive community for all. I might also add this evening that we are still undergoing some testing and configuring of our audio and visual equipment in council chambers that we've just recently updated. So for those viewing the meeting online, we do apologize if there are any technical difficulties, and I do appreciate your patience. We are trying to provide the best possible viewing experience for our residents. Council, or item number 4, which is additions. Are there any additions for tonight's meeting? Seeing none. Item 5 is the adoption of the agenda. The recommendation is that the agenda for the regular council meeting held on Wednesday, March 11, 2026 be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover for that motion? Deputy Mayor Laux. Second by Councillor Cox. Any questions on the agenda? And all those in favor? And that is carried. Item 6 are disclosure of pecuniary interests. Are there any items from council this evening? Okay, I do have one myself. So I have a declaration of conflict of interest on item 13.4, which is on the consent agenda, which will then be pulled for consideration by council under correspondence. And the reason is that I am the coach and secretary of the Lisle Astros baseball club. All right, so we're on to item 7.1 is the minutes of the regular council meeting of February 18, 2026. And the recommendation is that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 18, 2026 be adopted as presented. A mover for that recommendation, please. Councillor Cox, second by Councillor Borzos. Any questions on the minutes? And seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. All right, so we're on to item 8, which is presentations. We have a few presentations this evening. So the first on the docket is a presentation from Natalie Baker for Ontario Clean Water Agency, Aqua, regarding the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio 2025 Drinking Water Regulatory Reports. So Natalie, if you'd like to come forward and just make sure the mic's on there for you, and we'll have that presentation up momentarily for you.
Usually pretty loud. So, good evening, Your Worship, councillors, and township staff. For those of you who I have yet to meet or maybe didn't find my last council presentation all that memorable, my name is Natalie Baker, Business Development Manager with the Ontario Clean Water Agency. Today, we also have Carolyn McRae, the Regional Manager for the Georgian Highlands region. I'll get her to wave so you know who they are. Charlie Bowler, the Senior Operations Manager for your facilities, and Kristen Talada, who is the Process and Compliance Technician for your facilities. So to keep them all on their toes, we're going to direct all your difficult questions to them at the end of this presentation. So next slide, please. So today I'm going to begin with a brief overview of the Ontario regulations and reporting background in Ontario. I'm then going to present the summary of the most recent water inspection reports conducted by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. I will then move on to the Section 11, also known as the annual reports, and the Schedule 22 summary reports with their reporting requirements and facility results. Next slide, please. So before we dive into the annual reports, I do want to take a step back and provide some background information on the Ontario Acts and Regulations. For many years now, I have been presenting a summary of the regulatory requirements, so I'm sure you have it perfectly memorized, so I will keep it brief. If you can believe it, 30 years ago, there was actually only 2 acts in place to regulate drinking water systems: the Ontario Water Resources Act and the Health Protection and Promotion Act. This was until the Walkerton outbreak happened in 2000, and as a direct result of that incident, the Safe Drinking Water Act was implemented in 2002. From that act, a few regulations were implemented in 2003. The Ontario Regulation 169, which outlines acceptable drinking water quality for various parameters like arsenic, fluoride, lead, and nitrates. Then Ontario Regulation 170, which outlines the drinking water system requirements in terms of treatment, chemical water sampling, operational tasks, continuous monitoring equipment, and compliance reporting. A very important factor for drinking water systems is for certified operators to operate them, and that is outlined in Ontario Regulation 128. Along with those regulations, there were other requirements established for drinking water systems. The Drinking Water Works Permit, which outlines the terms and conditions for a physical site; the Municipal Drinking Water License, which outlines the terms and conditions for operating facilities and the authority to do so; and then also the Drinking Water Quality Management Standard. So all of these were implemented in order to provide that multi-barrier approach and providing safe, clean drinking water to the public. Alongside these changes, the permit to take water requirements were added in 2004, which requires municipalities to monitor and report the volume of water taken for the surface and groundwater system. So we are going to look a little bit at that tonight as well. And finally, because we didn't have enough regulations, they implemented Ontario Regulation 319 in 2008 to capture the smaller drinking water system. So that could be a drinking water system in a fire hall or in a municipal building, just like the one here. So next slide. So moving on to the 2025 reporting requirements, there are 3 main reporting requirements outlined in Ontario Regulation 170. There is Schedule 16, which is the reporting of any adverse test results. There is Section 11, the annual report, which summarize the quality of the treated water in terms of turbidity, chlorine residuals, lead, organic and inorganic parameters, and highlights any exceedances of Ontario Regulation 169. And then Schedule 22, which are known as the summary reports, which summarize the quantity of raw and treated water. So really today what we're looking at is the quality of your water and then the quantity of your water in both of these different types of reports. So next slide. So before we dive into the details, I want to take a moment to walk through a couple key terms that we're going to be looking at in the next few slides. These definitions help set the context for how incidents are categorized, what they actually mean for water safety, and how Aqua approaches reporting and compliance. So an adverse water quality incident indicates potential issue in the drinking water system, but does not automatically mean that the water is unsafe. It does signal that an incident occurred and corrective action needs to be taken. A non-compliance simply means that a regulatory requirement was not met, regardless of whether there was an actual impact to the water quality or safety. Aqua takes a conservative, transparent approach to self-reporting incidents to the MECP that could be interpreted as non-compliance, ensuring regulatory accountability and proactive oversight. So next slide, please. So all drinking water systems owned by the township under Ontario Regulation 170 of the Safe Drinking Water Act are to receive annual inspections by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. So the primary focus of this inspection is to confirm compliance with the Ministry of the Environment regulations and acts, so all of those that I just went through during that compliance inspection period. The ministry utilizes a comprehensive multi-barrier approach in the inspection of water systems that focuses on source water, treatment, monitoring components, as well as management practices. Next slide. So for 2025, we received an inspection rating of 100% for Weka, Lyle, Rosemont, and Hockley. As you can see, Colgan currently has a rating of to be determined, and that is not because something bad is coming, but only because the inspection term goes from March to April. So we have been in touch with the inspector, and we should be getting those results shortly, and have been told that they are all looking positive with no non-compliances. It is always our goal to receive 100% inspection ratings on behalf of the township. This year, the Everett drinking water system received a 96.4 due to one non-compliance, which unfortunately broke our perfect inspection rating for the year. I will walk through that non-compliance briefly on the next slide, just to explain how that occurred. So a review identified a 1-week sampling frequency non-compliance at the Everett drinking water system in August of 2024. During that week, 3 chlorine residuals were taken on 1 day instead of being taken across a 4-day period. This was an administrative sampling issue only and not related to water quality or system performance concerns. All test results were within the expected ranges with no impact to public health. Corrective actions were taken and implemented, including a staff review of requirements to improve tracking and to ensure weekly compliance going forward. The next slide. The Everett system also did have a self-reported incident where a review confirmed in March of 2025 that raw water turbidity samples were collected 9 days beyond the required monthly sampling interval. This once again was administrative in nature. All wells were sampled, all results were within normal operating ranges, and sampling requirements and timelines were reviewed with operations staff to enforce regulatory expectations. All sampling schedules, tracking tools, and internal fact-finding review were completed to prevent the reoccurrence of this happening again. So next slide. So moving away from the annual inspection reports, we're going to have a look at those Section 11 annual reports. Surprisingly, there's actually no regulatory requirement for municipal council to review the Section 11 annual reports, but we do always include it as part of our annual presentation. I am not going to go through each line item of all annual reports, as we will be here all evening, but I will go through a couple of the important things to look at. As I just outlined, the Section 11 annual report lists any exceedances of O Regulation 169 parameters, so we are looking at the quality of the water in this report. Next slide. The report template is provided by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks and begins with a full description of each facility, the chemicals used within each facility, and a description of significant expenses during that year. Table 1 lists number of samples taken for Schedule 10, 11, and 12, which look for E. coli and total coliforms. Table 2 is operational testing done under Schedules 6, 7, 8, and 9, and are looking at the turbidity in the raw water, which can be described as the cloudiness or how clear the water is when coming in. The systems have to maintain a level of free chlorine from the treatment all the way to the consumer's tap, which is why it's tested when it leaves the facility and then also in the distribution system. Table 4, a summary of inorganic parameters that require testing as per the regulation. 5 outlines any summary of lead testing, and 6 looks at any exceedances over the maximum acceptable concentration for organic parameters. Next slide, please. So to provide a summary, as I said, we're not going to go through every single one. All drinking water systems owned by the township had no exceedances over the maximum acceptable concentration for all 89 inorganic and organic parameters. Next slide, thank you. In the previous slide, we did note that there was one AWQI for Everett. On June 25th, 2025, Aqua was notified of an adverse microbiological result from a routine treated water sample collected at the ballpark pump house. The adverse result is isolated to one single treated water sample. Immediate corrective actions were completed the same day, including resampling, flushing, disinfecting the sample tap. Sometimes if you just have one sample, it could just be that the sample tap had something on it. A free chlorine residual measured at the sample point confirmed the water was disinfected, and a review of the system monitoring data confirmed that the water entering the distribution system met all regulatory requirements. Next slide. So moving on to the last report, which is the Schedule 22 summary reports. The reporting requirements for Schedule 22 summary reports is to present the latest quantity data. So we just looked at quality, we're now moving on to quantity. And unlike the Section 11 reports, there is the requirement to submit the summary reports to council by March 31st of every year, which is why we are here this evening. Next slide. So the summary reports are broken down into raw and treated water categories. For raw water, the average daily volume, in this case groundwater, over the year is compared to the permit to take water limits. The permit to take water outlines the maximum water taking from each individual well, in some cases the total amount of water taken. The same comparison is then made for the maximum daily volumes compared to the municipal drinking water license. So the municipal drinking water license outlines the rated capacity for each facility, which is the maximum amount of treated water the facility can produce. The same comparison is then made for the maximum daily volume. And we're going to do the exact same thing we did for the last report, and that is provide you a summary. So in summary, the daily raw water takings, all facilities operated within their separate permit to take water limits. And for treated water volumes, all facilities operated within their rated treated capacity, which is what we want to see. And that, in summary, concludes our presentation tonight. If there are any questions or hard questions, we'll be directing them back to my colleagues back there. I'll do my best to answer them.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation. So I will open the floor to council, but I do have one question, and I also just want to note that since we do have the folks from Aqua here tonight, there is the actual reports on the agenda under 14.1. So if there are any questions with regards to those regulatory reports, you're entitled to ask those questions in this presentation as well, if you're looking for an answer from Aqua. All right, so the first question I have, and it's just with regards to the non-compliance, I guess, at the Everett for testing. And I'm just trying to better understand the concept here. Like all agencies, there's staffing and it's human error generally. So I wanted to see with Aqua, is there considerable new employees that are coming on board? Like, is that, I'm not saying this is an excuse, but is like, is there's opportunities for things like that to happen when there are new people coming in? So I'm just looking, is that a familiarity issue that could potentially result in that? Or I'm just looking to see what your general time, like, do you see a lot of staff turnover with your folks that do test?
Yeah, so through your worship, I wouldn't say that we have a lot of staff turnover. I will say that we do take on new staff members from time to time, just like any industry, that you would bring in someone, instead of having a level license 3, they would start with an OIT, which is an operator in training, which maybe would lead to a higher potential for errors to take place. I can't speak to that exact non-compliance. I would have to direct that one back. But I do believe one of them on there was from one of our seasoned staff, and it was just an error that took place, human error after a number of years. But I will direct that back to Charlie. Do you want to speak to the staffing of that non-compliance? Sure. Yeah.
And by no means am I drawing attention to that. I'm just,
No, yeah.
there's sometimes reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, your worship, we have had some recent new staff and we have seasoned staff. This issue was a senior staff member. There is training involved as well, so things do get missed, and we've reiterated this with the staff member, provide additional training.
Yeah.
And hopefully that satisfies everyone. And yeah, we monitor everyone. We review all the documents regularly, and hopefully we can find these things before they become non-compliances.
For sure. And then just with regards to the non-compliance, again, just looking at the process. So the operator would come in, do the sample, or what the case might be at the pump house. Where does the document stay there, or is this electronic? How are these documents filed? Just looking for the process here.
Yes, your worship, the document stays at the pump house, basically on a month-to-month basis. So be there for the entire month. We did have multiple staff visit the site that month. So the same operator who maybe caused the issue maybe didn't see it right away, because maybe he was off and another operator had to take over. And then there was some oversight there.
Okay. All right. Appreciate the clarity. Thank you. Council, other questions? Councillor Cox?
Yeah, through the chair. First off, excellent presentation. Thank you once again for coming here. This one might be for Charlie though, so don't go too far there. It's in our water systems, are there auto switches for when one pump fails, it automatically switches over to another pump?
Yes, Your Worship, in response to Councillor Cox, yes, there is. So basically, it depends on the system, but for chlorine pumps, definitely. If one chlorine pump failed and it would not be dosing anymore, it would automatically switch over to the next chlorine pump. It would also cause an alarm at that point. And if both chlorine pumps failed, it would cause an additional alarm, saying that both pumps had failed. And in most cases, would lock out the well from operating and would give us time to get to the site and resolve the issue.
Okay, thank you. Supplementary? Yeah, the reason being, there was a recent issue in Lyle. I actually called in,
Yes.
and one of the pumps failed, and I had constituents ask if there was not an automated switch to switch over to the next pump.
Yes, so Your Worship, to reply to Councillor Cox, in that scenario, there was not a switchover. The well was called for, it started, it failed during a run. At that point, it was still being called for, so the switchover system did not work there. We are looking to resolve that as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Councillor Meadows?
In Colgan, the trihalomethane level there, you have 14, sample result 14, and maximum allowable concentration is 80. I thought it was supposed to be 100. Is that just a misprint,
Through your worship,
or
Well-
have they changed the
we'll just have Kristen pull it up. We have the reports printed, so we'll just have a quick look at them and get her to answer that question.
Okay.
page 91 of 763, or 13 of 127, or page 8 of 9 on the Colgan report?
Okay, so we'll get that. Do you have a second question?
Yes. Thank you for getting trihalomethane levels down in Loretto.
Councillor Meadows, can you turn your mic on?
Thank you for getting the levels down in Loretto with the trihalomethanes. I noticed in the report with regards to sodium in Rosemont is 225 when the maximum level is 200. This has been a constant problem in the Rosemont area with the salt in the water. Has the Ontario Health been notified of that? Have they been reported? And I still haven't heard from any of my residents or anybody's residents out there whether they're receiving communication stating that anybody with heart problems to be careful of the water.
Through your worship to Councillor Meadows. There isn't actually a maximum acceptable concentration for sodium. It's an aesthetic objective. So when you could start to potentially taste it in the water, after 20 milligrams per liter, we do have to call it in to the health unit. I don't know if it is it the health unit? Pardon? Yeah, it's the health unit, but, and then they report out to anyone with sodium restricted diets, particularly with their doctors. But I will have Kristen speak to that a little bit more clearly.
Well, through your worship to Councillor Meadows, just to answer your first question in regards to the trihalomethanes and in the Colgan report, that was an administrative error on my part. Under that specific table, the value of 100 should be beside trihalomethanes and the 80 should be with the HAAs. So those two values just need to be reversed, and I can revise that and send out a revised report to you guys.
Okay.
Regardless, the sample results are correct in that report.
Okay.
It's just the concentrations that need to be switched. In regards to the sodium in Rosemont, as Natalie had said, 200 is a aesthetic objective. We are required to sample sodium on a 5-year basis or 60 months. At the request of the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, we do sample it on a yearly basis for monitoring purposes. Sodium is naturally occurring in the water. So it's not a result of the treatment process. And then it is reportable to the Ministry of Health and the Spills Action Center every 5 years. So we do report these results as an adverse water quality incident every 5 years. But the annual results are provided to the Ministry of Environment on an annual basis, along with the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. I do believe that Aqua, in conjunction with the Ministry of Health, has provided a notice for residents that's supposed to go out annually with their water bills. Whether that is completed would be on the township level, so that might be something we can look into. But notifications have been made to all the regulatory parties.
That's here today that can answer that, whether it's gone out in our water bills to their residents.
I also believe there's a notice posted on the municipal website,
Is
but that could be
there,
something we can follow up.
yeah, if somebody from staff could answer that question for me, I'd appreciate it.
I'll go to the CAO.
Through your worship, let me just take a look down the line here to see who was here and if they went out. I'm not sure if the treasurer knows, but we have made note of it already, and will be happening if it didn't last year. Turn over to.
Yeah, it's just that this is an occurring occurrence up in Rosemont. Other years it's been 200 and now it's up to 225. It's been 210, so, you know, like I think it's something that anybody with a heart condition needs to be notified that the water, to be careful with the water because has a lot of sodium in it. Also, when I was looking at the reports, the arsenic levels in some of the locations have been a lot higher than others. And can anybody tell me what causes the arsenic rise within the water table?
Through your worship to Councillor Meadows. By the looks of everyone's faces, I don't think that we have an answer for you tonight
Okay.
on what would actually cause that to rise in the water table. Mostly we focus on the treatment side of things, but we can look into that certainly and get a report back to staff.
Yeah, because usually it's around 0.4, and when I start seeing levels, and the maximum is 10, but when I start seeing levels up to around 2.5, I start to question what's going on there. Like, is it something natural that's happening, or is there something that's getting into our water supply that shouldn't be? So it's something to look into as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions from council? All right, seeing none, thank you very much for the presentation and have a great rest of the evening.
Have a great evening.
All right, council, so there is a recommendation that the presentation from Natalie Baker, Ontario Clean Water Agency regarding Township of Adjala-Tosorontio 2025 drinking water regulatory reports be received. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Cox, and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Laux. And all those in favor of the presentation? And that is carried. All right, so item 8.2 is a presentation from John Wilmots, Interim Director of Engineering and Public Works, with regards to the 2025 year in review for the Public Works Department. Mr. Wilmots.
Sorry. The township did quite a bit of paving last year, and it turned out very well. So as you go through the slides, that's the truck that was, okay, that was the truck that was here at Canada Day, and the kids painted it. So I think it was a big success, and it was hopefully we'll carry on every year with that. The next slide. This is the operating report. So this is the jobs that we did or do. So ice and snow control. There's about 30,000 ton of sand, treated sand that we use every year on the roads. That's pickled sand, they call it, or treated sand. Anywhere between minimum 3% salt, that just stops it from freezing, and it can go up as high as 6, 7, 8%. This year, we cut it back a little bit in the second half of the year because of the salt shortage. We were lucky we got our salt brought in when we needed it, and the cutoff was just after we got it, so we were very lucky on that. Dust control, or pothole repair, there's about 210, 220 tons of or cold mix asphalt we use, and that's hand shoveled in all the holes as we go. Compacted to a point, it's almost impossible to compact it all when we're doing it. Traffic usually does a pretty good job on it. Dust control, every year there's one coat of calcium chloride put on all the gravel roads, and it's to control the dust. The roads are maintained, brought up to as good a standard as we can, and then it's applied. Then we don't grade it, we don't do anything until the fall, because as soon as you start grading and touching the surface, it breaks the surface adhesion and it's gone. So you don't have as good a control. So if roads get really bad and rough and washed, we have to do it. But again, you try and pick the time of year when you're doing it, or after rain, and it tends to roll back down in. What's the other one? Dust control. And park maintenance, we look after all the parks and the facilities, grass cutting, maintenance on all the equipment, and any new structures that are put in, then we take over the maintenance on them. That's about it, wasn't it? Oh, ditch maintenance. In Lyle this year, we did a major ditching job, cleaned out all the old ditches that hadn't been touched for 25 years, and we didn't dig any new ditches, we just reshaped them to the existing, what they were originally put in for. In some places, we were taking 2 or 3 inches out, other places it was a foot that we were taking out to bring them out. And also, we cut the shoulder off at the time so that the water can get off the pavement into the ditch. There's quite often all the winter sand and everything builds the lip up at the grass gravel line, and then the water ponds on the edge of the pavement and doesn't get into the ditch. That causes the potholes in the pavement and everything else. So that's kind of the long and the short of what we've done in the maintenance for this summer, or the past summer. New equipment was purchased this year, a new tandem plow truck, still waiting for delivery. I was talking to the supplier this week, and within the next week or two, they got held up with some of the parts coming in because of the tariffs and stuff, but we were lucky. The price didn't increase because of the tariffs, which was a major bonus. We also bought a wood chipper, replaced an old one that we had. I think it was one of the first pieces of machinery bought when the townships amalgamated, was the wood chipper. So it served us well. And the new one has more safety features than everything else on it, so it's in good shape. Road resurfacing, you got 17 side road from the 3rd to the Cindy Lane was redone this year, as well as Concession Road 3 from the Clairview Town Line down to County Road 12. And then the Mono Adjala Town Line from north of 5 Side Road to Highway 9. And then Concession Road 8 was new asphalt was put down on it from Magnolia. I'm not sure what the name of from Colgan anyway, south to 5 Side Road to tie it in the pavement. So that road now is pavement right from County Road 14 right down to Highway 9. And 20 Side Road of Tosorontio had a tar and chip put on it from the Mulmer-Toss Town line to the second line. Again, surprisingly, that road gets a lot of traffic. It's a kind of a shortcut from Airport Road into Alliston. As well, it eliminates us traveling a long distance with the grader over pavement to do a short chunk of road. So we try and tie up these little areas, and it's just more efficient with the grader going forward. So that's a picture of the surface treatment on 20 Side Road. And that's the application of the tar and chip. So the picture on the left is a truck actually applying the liquid asphalt down, and then right after it is the spreader, and it spreads a thin layer of aggregate on it, and then immediately after the spreader, a roller comes and it compacts it in. That's the first lift, and then when it's done, they literally turn around and do a second application of the same thing. So that's why it's a double surface treatment, it's called. It's exactly the same. Sometimes they change the quality of the stone from the bottom to the top, but it's basically the same scenario in both. And that's a picture of the town line down just after it freshly got painted. So it's a pretty nice looking piece of road now. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the presentation and the recap. It's nice to see the taxpayers' dollars hard at work, and I think that's what we're here to make sure that these projects are highlighted and that everyone understands where these projects are in the year. And for those who have been following council, of course, we've already passed our 2026 budget, so we're adding more new pavement, and you have an up-to-date review in 2027 for that. Councillor Meadows, I see your hand for a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, John. Job well done this year. I've had a lot of comments on roads and that. We always hear about the bad, but we don't hear about the good very often. And your guys out there have done a great job this year. I know my road's been good, and I know quite a few other roads have been plowed very well this year. And you go to some of the other municipalities and you see what they're like, and you compare our township to theirs, and I'm proud to say that ours are 10 times better than most townships. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you through the chair. Simple question that I get constantly asked. When you put the cold patch down, why aren't there guys there with tampers tamping it down? And I know the answer, but if you can briefly explain,
Yeah.
the
In a
process.
perfect world, you would have a tamper, a plate tamper, whatever, and do it. But just time restraints, and we have small crews, so we try and get the worst done as much as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, thank you very much. So there is a recommendation that the presentation from John Womitz, Interim Director of Engineering and Public Works regarding Public Works Department 2025 year in review be received. A mover, please. Councillor Meadows, seconded by Councillor Borzos. And all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, so we're on to 8.3, which is a presentation from Fire Chief Todd Aiken regarding the Adjala-Tosorontio Fire Department 2025 year in review. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor Anderson and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Fire Department's 2025 year in review. Our team worked incredibly hard throughout the entire year, and tonight I'm proud to highlight the key accomplishments and progress that we made, and as we continue to serve our community with dedication and professionalism. Many resident interactions occur during emergencies, so our outreach events give us the opportunity to engage in the community in a positive, relaxed, and proactive setting. The team generally enjoys these interactions, and we use them to strengthen public awareness on fire safety, decrease the potential for fire, and strengthen our community support relationships. ATFD delivered 25 public education events in 2025 with over 7,300 individual touchpoints. The fire department responded to 405 emergencies, the exact same number as the previous year. The team responded to a wide variety of calls, including 9 property fires, 14 vital sign absence, and 61 vehicle collisions. Our average response time was 11 minutes and 21 seconds, with an average of 18 firefighters on scene. Medical responses continue to be our #1 call type, with 155 recorded last year. Approximately 74% of the time, ATFD was the first on scene. Rescues made up the second largest portion of our responses. Training and development took a pivotal turn in 2025. The Deputy Fire Chief and Assistant District Chiefs designed a unified training calendar for both stations focused on hands-on skill development and performance training. This approach also established strong foundational theory that will continue to be built upon. We strengthened our mutual aid training with our response partners and place a strong emphasis on hazardous material operations training as identified in the Fire Master Plan. The Emergency Control Group successfully completed the annual emergency management training. Working with Simcoe County Emergency Management, we designed and conducted a simulated tabletop exercise that brought together 39 participants from 14 partnering agencies, something that we'll continue to build upon this year. And ATFD partnered with Psychology Matters to provide exceptional proactive wellness training. In 2025, they delivered the Ready at Home program, bringing together more than 70 firefighters and their families for an evening session that was very well received by the team. In addition to our wellness initiatives, 2025 also marked a major accomplishment in our operational capacity with the introduction of Pump 22. This new apparatus represents a significant upgrade from the former Pump 22, which could only carry 2 firefighters. The increased water, crew capacity, and modernized capacities of Pump 22 strengthen ATFD's firefighting effectiveness, ensures on-scene operational capacity, and our team is equipped to respond safely and effectively to emergencies. Deputy Chief Rockall highlighted the many wins of 2025. When you lay out all the small successes visually, you can truly appreciate the hard work the team pulled together to achieve these accomplishments. It is highly impressive what the team was able to accomplish within a year. On behalf of the fire department, we truly appreciate the strong support we have received from the council, from the community. The support goes a long way, especially when the team is out many long nights in adverse weather, responding to emergencies, and knowing that they have the support of the community and council goes a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the presentation. And again, I mentioned to the firefighters at training last month that council certainly does appreciate all the hard work that they do each and every week for training to make sure that they're prepared to serve our community in the worst of times. You know, looking at some of those calls, certainly the medicals and the VSA calls and things like that, that's never an easy call to go to. And again, it's very, very fortunate that we have community-minded individuals who sign up and want to do something for their community and to serve us in their capacity. So again, thank you to everyone in the fire department and to yourself. And I never did get down to take a look at your spreadsheet there in the office. So quite the work that the fire department did in 2025. Are there any questions or comments from council? Deputy Mayor Laux?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Just a comment. You guys are doing a great job. Very pleased with everything I've seen. Having the deputy chief is, I think, a huge step forward, and you can see that the training and the preparedness that all the firefighters have is top notch in this township. So thank you very much for the presentation and everything you guys do.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, Chief, again, reiterate what the deputy mayor just stated. The team out there does a fabulous job. I just have a question with regards to the medical. Medical's always been a problem with all the fire departments everywhere in the municipalities. Because we're 2 stations, do we send out a vehicle from each station to a medical call? Like if you get a medical call in Everett, like does Loretto get called out as well?
It depends on the time, through the chair. It depends on the timing of the call. During the days and for a more significant type of event, we will, the algorithm will have both stations dispatched. After 1600, it'll only be a single station dispatched.
And how many vehicles, supplemental, sorry, Your Worship. How many vehicles get sent out for let's say a medical call?
If it's a typical cardiac type of medical, we would send one apparatus. If it is a VSA, we will send 2, potentially even 3, depending on the situation. Where the
Okay.
medical's located, if they require additional apparatus to support to secure the scene.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair, I'll follow my fellow councillors here and thank you and your team for all the support in the community. You always have my support. And I know I've already relayed this to you, but the kudos to you and your team. The outreach program obviously works as my children have come home and personally asked to check our smoke detectors from the training that was received in the local school. So, you know, it obviously works. It's going a long way, and I greatly appreciate all that the fire department does for this community.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there is a recommendation, council, that the presentation from Todd Aiken, Fire Chief, regarding Adjala-Tosorontio Fire Department 2025 year in review be received. And a mover, please. Councillor Simpson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laux. And all those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so we're on 8.4, which is a presentation from Debbie Anderson, Director of Building, Planning, and Bylaw, regarding her department 2025 year in review. Ms. Anderson.
Well, it's been an exciting year. The building, planning, and bylaw was amalgamated in 2025, so it was one department head, 3 divisions, all amalgamated. We filled the manager of planning position, and we filled the bylaw administrative assistant position, which has really helped proceed with everything. We've reviewed the parking bylaw. We've minimized bylaw complaints to the response time of 48 hours. And we've completed the office renovations for the front office for the additional staff. Our planning pre-consultation, it is not mandatory under legislation for planning, but we have spoken to residents and identified that this is an important step. It helps the process. 29 pre-consultations were held this year. We managed to identify some challenges to, in some cases, create a need that they didn't need to go through a planning application, that if they just shifted one way or another, it alleviated all of the problems. So it improves efficiency, reduces time, and it's cost effective for the applicants. Next page. So our planning applications, it was busy. We processed 24 minor variances, 18 consents, 3 site plan controls, 1 official amendment, 4 zoning bylaw amendments, and again, the 29 pre-consultations, and that's kept staff very busy. Next page. As everybody knows, we got into that official plan update to complete it. It'll be presented to council very shortly. There were 3 reports that went to council in 2025 regarding the official plan. We had 2 public engagements in 2025, all to move forward with the official plan, and it is coming to our council near us soon. Planning had 64 reports that were presented to council, and this is in addition to all of the other ones. We utilized our Oak Ridges Moraine Screening Tool. It was an amendment we did to the zoning bylaw with regards to natural heritage evaluations. We had 21 building permit applications that triggered this screening tool. 17 required 17 of the building applications required a review using this tool. Only 5 of the 17 required a natural heritage study. So this is resulting in a cost savings anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 per submission. So this is a great tool for the residents. It was resulting in a time saving in approximately 3 to 6 months, depending on what they were doing. So it was a valuable, it's an invaluable tool, and it's working out well. 121 zoning reviews of building permit applications were completed by planning. And planning also worked on 13 cases with our bylaw division, resulting in, due to 4 complaints and 5 letters related for bylaw enforcement files as well. So amalgamating the 3 divisions has really kind of helped everybody move things along quickly and move things along clear. The Planning and Building Department, we did 17 compliance letters, a little bit on the light side, but there are fees collected for these, and 121 zoning reviews for building permits. And we're still working on this GIS mapping. Once we can get this launched, it will really be invaluable to the residents and to staff. So that's not stopped. We're still moving forward with it this year. Next page. The building department, we collected $379,000 in building permit fees and a total reported cost of construction upward over $40 million. There were 156 total permits submitted, 137 issued. 23 more permits were issued for Colgan Crossing in 2025. And you can see the breakdown of the categories of homes. 1,184 inspections. So that's a lot. Some of these inspections take more than one trip. 49 inspections are still actively ongoing. We did 116 occupancies, which is good. 78 of the occupancies that were completed were for tribute. 231 permits closed. We're trying to catch up on some of those older ones. 68 finals were given in Colgan. So things are moving along. Everybody's getting things done, and we're getting somewhere. Bylaw enforcement has been busy. 142 complaints have been received, 114 cases closed. We've got 28 cases actively investigating. The most common complaints are property standards, Oak Ridge's zoning in the Oak Ridge's marine, canine control, nuisance, and parking control. So you can see the breakdown of the categories, and it tells us the total, the open, and the closed in each of these different categories. So it is getting somewhere. We did, bylaw enforcement conducted 321 site visits. 144 of them were passed straight away. 177 failed. We had to go back more. So we're working on compliance. We try to educate, inform the residents, and work with them. Each inspection or violation or whatever consists of a site review, a compliance review, a final, and then a final inspection. We have canine notices and canine compliance notices that go out too. So due to the high volume of some of our open compliance reviews, they're problem files that are currently in legal proceedings, but we're working on those as well. So that's the inspection category. Okay. And that's a site visit. So our bylaw enforcement, we collected some fees last year. $12,000 were in non-compliance fees. They're when we have repeat offenders. People, we give the opportunity to comply, and when they don't. But we really generally try to work with people, and we understand that there are some challenges. As long as there is an effort being made, we don't go to that non-compliance fee. You can see there were court fees from POA, Barry, collected, parking fees, and we have 20,000 outstanding court-ordered payments. Those are the Part 3 fines that we have moved forward with so that we can try and get everything together. And The final thing is ERIS, so that was the final step. It's a program that is through the ministry, the MTO, and it'll grant us access so that when we issue tickets, we can gather personal information for enforcement. It's a long process, but we finally got everything submitted and are just waiting to hear everything back. And I hope you're happy with everything.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. I have one question, but I also just wanted to commend your department for the hard work. I know it's been a busy time, and you guys have been stellar. I also want to commend staff for putting together these information pieces, because it's very helpful, I think, for council and for residents to see everything in one spot. And so we can see, for example, in this last one with the bylaw enforcement, that we're actively enforcing, that we're collecting fines where necessary, and taking the action where necessary as well. So I do appreciate that. One question I did have through to CBO, in the one slide it indicated that there was 156 building permits submitted and 137 were issued. Could you just clarify as to why a building permit wouldn't be issued?
A permit's not deemed issued until payments have been made. So it could have been that they haven't paid for their permit, or there could be an outstanding piece of document, legislation missing, and we weren't in the position to issue the permit.
Okay, thank you. And do those have timelines as to when you reviewed? Would they require a second review if they did submit the information or the monetary payment?
We would complete the review, and once the review is done, they're notified. The permit, like I said, is deemed issued once it's paid. We do give them a time frame on how long that we'll let the permit sit at the counter, though.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions through to Ms. Anderson on this item? All right, seeing none, there is a recommendation that the presentation from Debbie Anderson, Director of Building Planning and Bylaw, regarding Building Planning and Bylaw Department 2025 year in review be received. And I have that moved by Councillor O'Leary and seconded by Mayor Anderson. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, we have no deputations this evening, no public meetings this evening, and so we are on item 11, which is public comment. Members of the public may request their comments to be read by the clerk or present their comments orally. Only public comments related to an item on the agenda listed as staff reports, correspondence, or bylaws will be read. Members of the public wishing to submit public comments can do so in writing to our clerk no later than 12 noon on the day of the meeting. And is there anyone in attendance who would like to provide their comments? And if so, please raise your hand and once called upon, proceed to the podium. Are there any persons wishing to provide comments on the agenda items this evening? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, did we receive any comments in writing?
Thank you, Your Worship. No comments were received in writing.
Thank you. All right, so that takes us to item 12, which is upcoming events and announcements. I do have a few, so just bear with me. So I just wanted to acknowledge, on behalf of council, we would like to thank the community and the dedicated volunteers for operating the Everett ice rink this year. The rink is closed with, of course, the weather, and I think we're all looking forward to spring. But I do express my thanks to the individuals who have made sure that rink was available for the community. The second item is March 8th, which was just the other day, but it was International Women's Day. And this year's theme was Give to Gain, which encourages a mindset of generosity and collaboration. And then earlier today, before our council meeting, council and staff gathered outside for a photo to recognize the It Starts month in the county of Simcoe. And this is a public awareness campaign run by Simcoe County's local immigration partnership. It is designed to take a proactive step towards addressing racism and discrimination in Simcoe County, and works to promote a unified community that encourages collective action against racism and discrimination. The campaign coincides with the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which is celebrated on March 21st. And we encourage everyone to visit simcoe.ca/itstarts to view all the information there. And I might also add that the county heavily does this, and county council, we just actually did a photo the other day as well, supports this wholeheartedly, and I'm not sure if the Deputy Mayor would like to provide comments, but it is also the 10th anniversary for this campaign. Okay. The next item I have is just with regards to the upcoming holidays, Good Friday and Easter Monday, and to remind residents that the office here will be closed on Friday, April the 3rd for the Good Friday, and for April 6th, Easter Monday. And on behalf of council, we would like to wish everyone a happy Easter. My last item is just to allow council the opportunity for this upcoming event. The 3 mayors of Adjala-Tosorontio, Newton-Tecumseh, and Township of Essa are putting together a tri-party hockey tournament in support of the Stevenson Memorial Hospital Foundation. So the hockey game is going to be a charity game with players from whoever would like to join. There will be some 50-50 and some other items that will be going on during the day, but it is April the 19th. It starts at 12 p.m., game time at 1 p.m. And all the proceeds will go directly to the Stevenson Memorial Hospital build. And this will include, of course, as everyone knows, a larger modern facility for the hospital, improved access to urgent and specialized care, which will reduce wait times, accommodate patients' needs, and attract and retain skilled healthcare professionals. So there will be additional information coming to council soon. There are plans for a photo op in late March, and then as well the game on the 19th. So if there are any individuals who would like to participate in that game, please reach out to me. And we will also have tickets available for sale. So if you're interested in attending the event, it's $10 a ticket. And we look forward to seeing everyone there. And then more information to come shortly. Is there either items from council for upcoming events and announcements? Councillor Borzos.
Thank you, through the chair. I just like to wish a very happy and blessed St. Patrick's Day for all the Irish and non-Irish people who celebrate it. Easy on the green beer, but it's only a week away before Christmas, before Easter. So, yeah, just happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay, before I go to the CEO for an update, I also just want to speak to Councillor O'Leary for a moment and extend our condolences to him and his family on the recent passing of his brother. And our thoughts are with you, Ron. Chris?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just before I pass it on for our one announcement, I just did want to point out for the members of the public here that going back to the presentation with regard to Rosemont sodium, it is in our annual reports, and it's noted that anything that is above 20 milligrams is reported to the local medical officer of health. And so I just wanted to point that out, that it was reported in 2022, so our next report will be in 2027 for that particular aspect of our drinking water system. So just for clarity, wanted to point that out, that it was in the annual report.
Okay, thank you.
For clarity. For another announcement, I'd like to turn it over to the chief to talk about an older fire vehicle that we traded in and a success story that we've had with that, if I may.
Certainly.
Your Worship.
Chief?
Great. Through the chair. The old pump 22 went on Gov Deals, and we were able to sell it for $22,600 to a small community in Newfoundland that will continue serving that community for a long time. So, yeah, it was a win for both communities.
Did you get to drive the truck out there?
I almost got to drive it onto the flatbed.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Could have taken a holiday. Anything else, Chris?
Through Your Worship, no, just wanted to point out, though, that the price that we did receive was approximately $6,000 to $7,000 more than expected. So that is why it's such a good deal. Right place at the right time. And so we're everybody from Newfoundland. Thank you.
Awesome. Great to hear. Thank you very much. All right, so we're on to item 13, which is the consent agenda. Are there other items that need to be pulled? So as I indicated earlier, I do have a conflict, so 13.4 will be pulled for council discussion. So I'll vacate the chair at that time. Other items, Councillor Meadows?
I would like to see 2026-10, the drinking water financial plan. That pulled.
Sorry. Just on anything on the
Oh, sorry.
consent agenda, sorry. So 13, 1 through 4.
Oh, sorry. 13-1 to 13-4. No, that's it.
Okay, so we're talking about that at that time. Other items, council? Okay.
There's a step.
So the recommendation would be that the consent agenda recommendations for items 13.1 to 13.3 be adopted as presented, and that staff be authorized to take all necessary action. So all necessary action is required. Mover, please. Moved by Councillor Cox, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laux. And all those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so we're on 14, which is staff reports. 14.1, staff report is IND 2026-09, the 2025 drinking water regulatory reports. And I believe Mr. Johnstone had that one. Mr. Johnstone?
Through the chair, good evening, council. This staff report piggybacks off of the presentation that Aqua gave earlier this evening. This just presents the 6 annual reports for each of our 6 drinking water systems and the 6 summary reports for each of our drinking water systems.
Great, thank you. Councillor Meadows, question?
Mr. John, maybe you'd be able to answer this question. I forgot to ask it when Taco was here. We don't check for lead in our water, do we? I don't see any.
Sorry, I'm just.
That was one of the regulations they said that we were supposed to check for. I'm just curious.
Through the chair, I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Can you get back to me on that one? 'Cause I didn't see it in any of the reports, so I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions through to staff on this item? CO?
Through your worship, just for clarity, and Mr. Johnson will double check about the reporting of it. But the maximum allowable concentration for lead in water is 10 micrograms per liter, just to note that. So we will check on the reporting and the testing of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there are no further questions on this item, I will acknowledge that it's also noted in the report that these water reports are posted to our website and available for public review. And I didn't really have the opportunity at the time to thank Aqua, but again, these, when we see almost a perfect record in a year, and again, the slight error and human error on testing, it's great to see that we do have competent people working for us, and the fact that we have good drinking water provided to our residents. So the recommendation is that staff report IND 2026-09 dated March 11, 2026 regarding 2025 drinking water regulatory reports be received and accepted. Mover, please. Councillor Cox. Seconder, please. Sorry, Councillor Bob Meadows. Now, all those in favor? And that is carried. All right, so we're on 14.2, which is staff report 2026-10 drinking water financial plan. Mr. Johnstone?
Through the chair, this staff report presents the drinking water financial plan prepared by Hempson. The township's municipal drinking water licenses need to be renewed by April 24th, 2026. The last requirement that the township needs to complete in order to submit their package is the preparation of this financial plan. What the financial plan does is it projects that the township has sufficient resources to cover operating and capital expenditures over the course of the life of the financial plan. Council isn't obligated to meet dollar for dollar what's in the plan. Rather, it serves as a guiding framework that shows to the Ministry of Environment as part of our application that our drinking water systems are sustainable based on assumptions made with respect to growth and other factors. I will entertain any questions that council may have.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Questions from council through to staff? Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Johnstone, I'm looking at the Hempson report, page 14 of 28, and I guess in the specific Hempson report itself, page 8. There's a note there regarding the beginning period accumulated surplus of 6.2 million. Could you give more information on what that surplus is?
Mr. Johnstone? And I believe we do have Andrew online as well, so either through to the treasurer or to Andrew.
Good evening, council. Everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. So just maybe just a precursor to that, the financial plans are prepared on a PSAB, tangible capital asset basis. So when we look at accumulated surplus, it's really about the tangible capital asset opening balance. So it's not a cash position.
Sorry, could you just repeat that last sentence? It's not.
It's about the tangible capital asset position. It's not necessarily a cash on hand position.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Meadows?
Thank you, Your Worship. I got a few questions here with regards to this report. First of all, it states here, council approval does signify point-in-time approval of viability based on current assumptions regarding growth, interest rates, and asset degradation. So this is all based on assumptions, is that correct?
So I'll go to Mr. Johnstone for that one because it's his report. That's his sentence. Mr. Johnstone?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Supplemental. Then we go to page 212 of 763, which is 728 of the report, under Hempson's report. It says the township recovers its costs through user fees charged to its customers on the basis of a full cost recovery system. That statement is not what I would call 100% correct.
So through the mayor, it's charged to through the user base on a cost recovery system. At the moment in time, there is a top up, I guess you could say, from your working fund reserve to pay for it, but the system is funded. But the intention is that as the growth comes online and we pay back our working fund, it will become and continue to be a full cost recovery system. So the user rates are supporting the operating costs as well as the capital requirements that's needed.
Yeah, but even still, currently, it's not a full cost recovery because everybody in the township is basically paying for it. It's not a user paying for it, it's everybody in the township paying for it. So I'd like a little clarity on that moving forward. It's not very clear. To me, it's misrepresentation of what's actually happening with our water system. Then I have page 10 of 28 of your report, page 215. This one here really concerned me. I'll read it to you. The expenditure and revenue forecast is based upon the information obtained from the township's 2026 operating budget. This forecast includes a projection of operating expenditures and revenues to 2031. The township recovers its costs through user fees charged to its customers. That includes a monthly base rate with an additional consumption charge for each cubic meter of water consumed. The forecast expenditure and revenues is included in Appendix A, Table 1, Operating Budget Forecast. Some main assumptions used to derive the operation and revenue projections are as follows. Expenditures and non-related revenues will increase annually. Salaries, 3%. Materials and supplies, 2%. Electricity, gas, fuel, 5%. Contractual services, 3%. All other expenditures, 2%. And non-related revenues at 2%. Water rate revenues are assumed to increase at an annual rate of 5.5% per year to 3031 based on the 2024 water rates and study update scenario 2. Now this concerns me because we have an increase of all these percentages to our costs to doing business on the water system. We are not, right now, we've got a bylaw forward that's got everything on hold when it comes to water and wastewater rates. So everything's on hold. Yet to break even, we have to have a 5.5% increase in each one of those water rates. So by 2031, you're up over 30% increase in your water rates, when currently our residents can't afford what they're paying now. So to me, this report, I have a bit of a problem with, because we have a bylaw in place that has all the water rates on hold. And yet you're putting this in the report that you got to have a 5.5% increase every year. If we have a 30% increase in 6 years, I tell you, our residents are going to tear this council apart. So all we're doing is we're setting up the next council for failure with regards to these water rates. Thank you.
But I believe you took that from the actual water and wastewater rate study from 2024, if I'm not wrong on that. Would you like to clarify that?
That's correct. The projections were based on the 2024 rate study. Now, notwithstanding that, I mean, it is council's authority every year through your budget deliberations, whether you choose to continue the course of the rate study or if you choose not to or deviate from it. But for the purposes of the plan, at least from a projection standpoint, we based it on that rate study, and then plus the expenditure increases outlined and the assumptions based there.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilor Meadows?
Yeah, well, my one concern is when we had all these studies done a long time ago, by 2036, everything was supposed to be clear. Now, what I'm seeing is we have a higher cost for our wastewater treatment plants. We're going to need a lot more for our water and wastewater. Our residents still aren't going to be able to afford the system. So I got a bit of a problem with this report. I mean, even with this money we're getting from, we're talking a 20-year build-out for this development that's going on in Everett. And I don't know how soon the next development's going to be going on in the Colgan area, but if we're basing it on increase in these numbers, it still doesn't mean that we're going to be in the clear for the costs down the road. I don't see any debt relief whatsoever, especially with a $5 million debt that we have that I didn't see mentioned in here either with regards to the water system. And that's another problem I have. We got $5 million internal debt on the water system itself. So that's got to get paid off. And I don't see that getting paid off anywhere. It just keeps going up every year, $359,000 every year. And every one of my residents are paying for it. Not just the people that are on water and wastewater, but everybody. So I got a bit of an issue with this report.
Okay, thank you. I might go to the treasurer as well. Like, you can explain the debt and when the end date of that debt is, Brent, but I just want to comment on the affordability of water to our residents. And I think it's been very clear from this council, why we froze the water rates in the first place, so that people can afford their water rates. So council have made that decision this term to do that. So as Andrew indicated, it's council's prerogative as to how they would handle rate increases for water and wastewater. And council chose to do that for a couple of years, and then can be reassessed again next year. And then I might just ask, before I go to the treasurer, Andrew, the costs of the expenditures, those are again just rough estimates as to what was in the financial plan. Those, like electricity, gas may not go up 5%. Again, these are best guesses. So our expenditures may be lower than what is projected as well. Am I correct on that assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the projections are based on, where we see historically some of the trend lines have been and what the assumptions were in the previous plan. But actuals do come in different than the projections. And one of the things with the financial plans, they are living documents. We obviously encourage municipalities to monitor the plan. If your rates and costs change or deviate from the plan, you have the ability to update at any time. And this is the financial reporting tool for the license renewal, but it isn't a full-blown rate study that that would support rate increases and the rate determination exercise as well. So just want to be clear about those two distinctions on those items.
Okay, thank you. And then to Mr. Anderchuk again, just on the grant or the loan, there is an end date to that, and then we would not have to repay that loan. Can you just clarify that those details for us, please?
Through the chair, to Councillor Meadows, as far as the internal debt is concerned, it actually does show on Appendix A, Table 3, starting in 2028, repayments to the internal loan, starting at $72,000 in 2028 and going up to a repayment in 2031 of $1.1 million. So based on the water financial plan, which is done and prepared in accordance with the public sector accounting standards, we are showing repayments of the internal loan. And I'd also like to add, as far as the external loan with Infrastructure Ontario is concerned, that debt payment is complete in 2029, meaning there's a $380,000 or $85,000 payment that's no longer required because we've fully paid that external debt. So the plan does show water becoming more self-sufficient and repaying the internal loan to the working fund in 2028.
Okay, thank you. Further clarifications from, I'm going to go to council members first. Councilor members, let's see if there's any other questions. Councillor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair to Andrew, so or Brent. So according to this plan, there's going to be no transfer from the working fund starting 2028.
Mr. Anderchuk.
Correct.
It says here. So yeah, 2028, no transfers from the working fund to subsidize the program?
Correct. Based on the financial plan prepared by Watson and the forecast and all the assumptions built in, starting in 2028, we're actually contributing back to the working fund. So we're repaying that internal loan starting in 2028. And those repayments are increasing each and every year.
A supplementary? This is more of a comment just to, I never really agreed with the way our water rates were from the get-go, but I boarded this ship a couple nautical miles from shore. And during that time, there's been very hard economic times on families. So there wasn't a really good, easy solution. But as you can see, 2028, we're not transferring from the working fund anymore. It's not a time to start and tell the ship to go back to its, the dock it set sail from. We got to keep on the same course. It's the best thing for all families. And as a township as a whole, we should all be looking out for each other. And, there's lots of services within Ontario that you don't use, but you still pay for it through your taxes. A lot of services in Canada you don't use, you still pay for it taxes as a whole. this water issue affects all small municipalities, I would like to think, across Ontario. And I see our way out of it. I look forward to it. And that's all I want to say. It's not time to abandon our plan this late in the game. It's like, what, 10, 12 years old? So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson?
Through the chair. So in 2025, I believe we had anticipated surpluses on the water systems. And it's my understanding that we didn't, in fact, reach those surpluses. Based on this report, and I'm seeing that 2026, we're going to have an annual surplus of about 280,000, and that these surpluses will be ongoing. If we're having these surpluses, in another part of the report, I see that the recommendation with regard to capital expenditures is to utilize the OSIF funding. Why are we remaining confined to utilizing grant funding for the water systems when water and wastewater amounts and expenditures are to be paid by users?
So I'll go to Mr. Anderchuk on this, but again, it's at the will of council as to the funding source of these projects. It's been,
Could I get the clarification from Mr. Mirabella?
Oh, I'm
I
gonna go-
believe it's in the report.
great. I'm going to go to Mr. Anderchuk. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Simpson. So the funding of our capital program from OCIF grants was approved by council and it was recommended by me. If council so chose to cease the funding of capital, water capital from OSIF, we could. But what that would translate into right now would be we would paying, drawing more on the internal loan or working fund in the next 2 years, and there'd be less of a repayment toward the internal loan. So I guess like pick your, we can make a decision. I'm fine either way. Council can make the decision. We don't use OCIF funding for water, but that would translate into less money being paid back to the working fund.
And Mr. Mirabella?
Mr. Mirabella, if you'd like to provide any additional comment on that. Again, you're not controlling the budget, so, but if you have comments.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thank you, and appreciate that. I mean, maybe just my point of clarification on the councillor's comment on the surplus, that again it's a surplus from a tangible capital asset perspective on the statement of operations. So there is that is still based on that surplus from the TCA standpoint. Again, not necessarily a cash position surplus because the money is going from the working fund.
Sorry. So is the surplus calculated after the transfer of funds from the working fund?
It's considering the working fund transfers in, and that's partly contributing to the surplus. But it's not a reserve fund surplus at the end of the day. So again, it's just the way it's calculated from the amortization and the way we do it from a TCA standpoint.
So then what is the anticipated impact on the working fund? Because I didn't see that in the report.
The working fund is you're still drawing from the working fund in the first couple of years. You only start to make a dent into paying it back as indicated in 2028.
So for 2026 and 2027, how much are we pulling from the working fund?
In 2026, it'll be 232,000, and then 85,000 in 2027, and then in 2028 we start to repay it down.
So we're still reliant on the working fund, and so I guess my concern is we're saying here that there is an anticipated operating surplus from the user base, but then those are not really there because we're still relying on the working funds to pay and cover for this. And then we're also utilizing OSIF funds, which are grant funding, which does not appear within the internal loan. So in fact, there is still an ongoing heavy reliance on the tax base at that point. And I'm concerned that as much as the report is identifying a way out, it doesn't really identify a way out for the municipality, even with the growth that we are anticipating. And I am concerned about that because ideally, I would have liked to see a way that we can get out of this, whether it's by collecting from connection fees or through other means where we can pay off this internal loan and reduce the reliance on working funds.
The reliance is being reduced, and it's only a 6-year time frame. So for the entire working fund to be absolved, it'll take a couple more years after the 6-year plan. And it all depends on growth. There's a lot of factors of how long it's going to take, but the reliance on your working fund does get reduced.
Thank you, Mr. Mirabella.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from council? Okay, Councillor Meadows.
Yeah, to me, all we're doing is robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're playing shuffleboard with the taxpayers' money for the water and wastewater, and I don't like it. I've mentioned, I don't know how many times I've sat here in the council chambers. I want to see a line item with the water money's going in and out, and we don't. Every year, it's not there. We got this little graph here that was put forward at our last budget meeting, but it didn't show very much. It didn't show what was going in and what was going out. And what I have a problem is with the working fund. We're using taxpayer dollars to pay down debt. We're paying down the water system. We're using OCIF grant funding to pay down the water debt, which is taxpayer dollars. That could be used for infrastructure and roads and everything else like that for the township. Every nickel and dime we're getting is going into the water and the wastewater from the working fund when we need it, and the OCIF grant funding when we need it, when we get into problems. And this is where I am saying we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and the taxpayers, every taxpayer, is getting ripped off as far as I'm concerned, because it's not being shown properly in the budget line. We need proper management of that budget line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor O'Leary?
I don't know who, through the chair, I don't know who to address this to, but the 5.5% increase annually, I think is a little too high. It should be probably at your cost of living for the year, as say the government says the increase is 2%, but my question is not that. My question is, if we take it from 5.5 down to 2%, what's going to be the effect? Like, what's the number of years we're going to incur additional costs to, or years of payments until we pay down the debt? I don't know who to answer that, but
Mr. Marabella, do you have something in lines if we reduced our expenses by half, would that shorten the time frame by half?
As a general comment, I mean, directionality, I mean, if you reduce the revenues, it'll take longer to pay back your internal loan. But similarly, if costs don't materialize to what we projected, that means you'll have additional surplus, which could help pay it back. So it's just I don't have the exact numbers how much longer it'll take. Again, we kind of used the basis of the 5.5% on the rate study, but it's going to be council's direction through budget deliberations on how you want to proceed with that through each year.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from council? Councillor Cox?
Yeah, through the chair, it's just a statement that I'd also like to bring to attention that water users are technically actually paying like twice, because if you pay your water bill and you pay your taxes, and your leftover taxes goes to the working fund, and the working fund pays water, so just ensuring that's related. Essentially, they pay twice.
Well, if you're getting the technical, they're actually paying 3 times because they're paying interest on that loan as well. But the concept is here is we know what the issues are. This plan again deals with the next 5 years. And we've sat here as council and decided through our budget processes over the last 3 years of what that plan of action is. And I think we're all comfortable with that moving forward for the next few years to see how this all plays out and to understand that, again, that working fund reliance will be diminished significantly with the in 2028 with the ending of the external loan. So again, we're on a better course. To be honest, we're in a better spot today than we were when we came in to this term of council. Any other comments or questions from council? All right, seeing none, there is a recommendation that staff report I&D 2026-10 dated March 11, 2026 regarding drinking water financial plan be received, and that Hempson Consulting Limited report dated March 4, 2026 regarding drinking water financial plan be approved and submitted to the province. Mover, please.
Can I have a recorded vote, please?
Certainly. Councillor Cox move that. And a seconder, please. Councillor O'Leary. Mr. Marabella, just because you're online, just wanted to express our thanks this evening and to have a great evening.
Thanks very much, Council.
All right, Madam Clerk, there has been a request for a recorded vote from Councillor Meadows.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Meadows, in favor or against?
Against?
Councillor Borzos, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Cox, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor O'Leary, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Simpson, in favor or against?
Against.
Deputy Mayor Laux, in favor or against?
In favor.
And Mayor Anderson, in favor or against?
In favor.
That's 5 in favor and 2 against.
Okay, the motion carries 5-2. All right, so we're on to 14.3, which is staff report I&D 2026-11, which is the health and safety water stream transfer payment agreement, the TPA. Mr. Johnstone.
Through the chair, thank you. As council is aware, on January 26, 2026, the province announced that we were successful in our grant application to the Health and Safety Water Stream Grant Program. Specifically, it was announced that we received $28.9 million, and the purpose of this funding was to what I'll call finalize the replacement of the New Horizons wastewater treatment plant with the new Everett wastewater treatment plant by putting in non-modular components and modular components in order to treat development as the hamlet grows. So what this staff report does is it presents to council the transfer of payment with the agreement with the province in order for us to move forward with the completion of this project. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Council, are there any questions to Mr. Johnstone or staff? Seeing none, the recommendation is that staff report to I&D 2026-11 dated March 11, 2026 regarding health and safety water stream transfer payment agreement be received, and that council consider the necessary bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the transfer payment agreement attached as attachment 1. Mover, please. Moved by Councillor O'Leary.
Could I have a recorded vote, please?
Seconded by Councillor Cox. Any further questions or comments on this item before we go to a vote? And Madam Clerk, Councillor Meadows has requested a recorded vote.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Meadows, in favor or against?
Against?
Councillor Borzos, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Cox, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor O'Leary, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Simpson, in favor or against?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Laux, in favor or against?
In favor.
And Mayor Anderson, in favor or against?
In favor?
That's 6 in favor, 1 against.
Thank you. The motion carries 6-1. All right, so we're on item 14.4, which is staff report CAO 2026-1 Everett Development Update. Mr. Kalamutu.
Pardon me. Through your worship, this report summarizes some aspects of conversations that happened last week on March 4th and provides some additional information with regard to some of the technical background and reporting that's been happening in the Everett area. It also is in response to some of the questions and comments with my apologies, sorry, as I was going through it, I was looking at the wrong one, but it also is in response to the notice of motion that was previously put forward. That was also discussed on March 4th. So, and within that discussion, there was requests for some additional background and technical information on some reports. So those are all attached. So it does make for quite a large report. But as noted, we are looking for direction with regard to that previous notice recommendation for the development of the earthworks agreement. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Again, they're specific to a master servicing plan, the environmental assessment, and also with regard to the potential outlet locations.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council with regards to this item? Councillor Meadows, I would go to you first if you'd like, because this was the direct result of your notice of motion, but
Sorry?
since the direct result of your notice of motion, so if you'd like to speak first, I'd give you the opportunity.
Yeah, I got a few questions with regards to this. I got some. One of them was with regards to the subsurface discharge to the wastewater treatment with room for future expansion to the surface water discharge facility, including improvements to facilitate total phosphorus treatment to an objective level of 0.05 and a limit of 0.01 conversion to surface water. Discharge should occur prior to the serviced equivalent residential population reached 2,200 persons. And ultimate discharge should indicate treatment capacity for an ADDF of 3.63 milliliters a day.
Councillor Meadows, could you reference the page number you're on, please?
Sorry. That's page 55 of 422, top of the page.
Could you, sorry, give us the agenda number at the bottom?
The agenda number?
Right at the bottom number.
Page in the bottom.
Oh. 333 of 763.
Thank you.
So is there going to be a change as soon as it hits that 2,200 people?
Through the chair.
Yes, Mr. Kalamutu.
Apologies. So with respect to this particular document, it gave specific areas of where to increase. And as noted before, the ECA, as an example, is at 850 cubic meters per day. So if that was the plant's capacity at the beginning, there would maybe a first phase, and that would go for a different type of treatment. But as we move forward with this, and as we get to those 2,200 persons and over, the developer is actually expecting to go straight to the surface for that treatment right now. So to build basically the plant, what we're looking as doing, as noted before, the plant itself has been given an environmental assessment of 3,627 cubic meters per day. Right now, we're looking at moving forward all the way to there, so it would need a new ECA. And so then it would go to that second type of treatment that was mentioned, that you just mentioned, immediately, as opposed to as in a second phase.
So just to clarify, this report speaks to subsurface discharge when we're going surface discharge.
Correctly, correct, through your worship, correct, it is because we are going above particular flow, so it would be to the surface discharge immediately as opposed to going subsurface first and then to the surface. So we're just kind of skipping that particular phase of the plant and moving to the second phase immediately.
Okay, it's just that it's, everything that I saw within the MSP referenced far site development. There was no mention to Barzo lands. So, you know, like, it makes a big difference in an MSP if there's no mention of the Barzo lands or the amount of homes that are gonna be in that Barzo lands. Our MSP was done January 2013 with a few amendments done later on. We're using old data for stuff, and it makes it very difficult when you're making a decision here on anything. I got another one here. Page 342 of 763. We did a road study, and I didn't see any of this stuff that was in there. County Road 5 at Blanchard's Way, signalization, this was recommended transportation improvements. Signalization, left turn lanes on all approaches. County Road 13 at Collector Road 4, northbound right turn lane, southbound left turn lane, exclusive westbound opposing left turn lanes. County Road 13 at Collector Road 3, Collector Road 5, signalization, northbound and southbound opposing left turn lanes. County Road 13 at Collector Road 5, Main Street Everett, signalization, left and right turn lanes, all approaches. I go on and on and on and on with regards to what needs to be done to these roads, and I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a lot of money, and you know, we did this road servicing plan or whatever, and none of this was included in it from what I could see. They had stop signs instead of all this sort of stuff. So I just like to know, why wasn't all this included in our first study, traffic study that was done?
Okay, I'll go to Mr. Kalamutu, but just looking at the page in particular, the next paragraph under it says, it is recommended that the township require development of specific traffic studies, including updated traffic counts moving forward, to clarify phasing and requirements for future transportation improvements outlined above. So I believe,
Exactly.
yes.
And
So I believe those studies have been in place, and that's why these are refined to what we've seen within our proposals.
Well, with the studies that we've seen, like, when this was done was in 2013 for one development for Farsight, okay? Now we have 3-4 times the amount of houses going in there. That was originally for the Farsight and Barzo lands, okay? So they needed that for the Farsight development, and then they recommend township required, we did those studies, but they weren't done to what our satisfaction should have been on the traffic study. Nobody thought it was a good traffic study. Nobody. It went back and forth from council.
So can I let Mr. Kalamutu to answer the
Yep, absolutely.
question for you, Mr. Kalamutu?
Through your worship, I'm sorry, I didn't get the exact page, so I'm not reading, but what I'll
So,
will do
okay,
is
it's page
speak.
342 of 763.
Sorry, I don't have the 763, but what I can do is speak to the process in general. What the MSP does is it's at the beginning and is submitted with regard to water, wastewater, stormwater, and transportation. and that is more of a high-level approach with regard to the master servicing plan. As we move along the development process, as noted in Kartik's presentation, there are specific studies that are then broken down. So the transportation impact study, sometimes it's called the transportation impact assessment, is also provided with more specifics, and it's obviously updated. So as the development moves along in the process and as more specifics get through, then the work is done and provided within some of those particular studies that are more specific to that area. So for example, depending on configuration of homes, whether it be single-family residential or if it is townhomes, and where they're located. As that becomes known as an example, then that kind of information is put into the traffic impact study, and that's why it's done later. So as previously noted, even though we have an MSP and even though we have an EA, there are still ongoing studies that are submitted again through the planning and engineering piece so that they can be basically rectified, understood, and updated as more and more information come along. So unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me here, but there is a traffic impact study. I'm not sure what the last date on that was, and I don't believe that that the manager is here today, but we will be putting and placing all of these updated studies onto our website specifically for the Everett developments.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Meadows?
Okay. Supplemental through your worship. Also, with the existing drinking water system, based on the current water use in Everett, the existing aquifer has the capacity to service an equivalent population of 11,320 to 12,437 persons. A new well and pump will be required once it exceeds 5,359 persons. The existing water storage is significant to service an EP of 3,405 persons, which is getting pretty close to what they have now in Everett. I guess I'm kind of concerned because now we're using these numbers 3 and 4, or not even 4, sorry, 3 and 2.885 or whatever for water capacity and persons per household. And this is where I stated several times that these numbers are too low, especially with the new PPS that's gone forward. That 11,320, we're going to be cutting it real close. Like right now, there's about 2,000 people on the Everett well. That doesn't include anybody that's on their own private wells in Everett, okay? Then we have this new subdivision we're putting in, and you're probably looking anywhere from 3 people per household. So you got 2,000 homes going in, 2,200 homes going in, average 3 people per household, that's 6,000 people. So we're getting kind of close to that 11,320 without even looking at Everett West that's on the docket. My concern is these numbers, again, were done in 2013 using probably 2010 or 2012, 2010 or 2011 statistics. These numbers are certainly higher for the number of houses that are in Everett. And I'm really concerned that because, again, we're using old data, that our system isn't, our well isn't going to be big enough to handle all these new people coming in. Because we don't know how many people there's going to be per household. Because the new provincial policy statement says you could put in a triplex. So you could have 6 people per home. You could have 9 people per home, you know, or up. So this is where I have a problem with some of the statistics that are in this old MSP. And we're I brought this situation up to all on council before, and with regards to other items like the EA, there was problems in the EA as well. I brought it to council's attention, and I got a Greenland report in front of me stating that we need an scheduling and requires an MOE, an ECA, and deviations to the town standards, and an MVCA approval required for water courses crossings. So this is all in the EA, that stuff that hasn't been done, that I found in the old EA report from Greenland, plus the MSP. And that's the reason why I brought this to everybody's attention at the last meetings, why we needed to update these documents prior to making any decision on this water course. And also, it even states that a new EA, if we don't have if that outflow location doesn't work out that we have, and we have to go with a different outflow location, a completely new EA has to be done for that other outflow location. So we need an update to the EA, we need an update to the MSP to get the proper information for this development going forward. And that's why I brought all this out in the first place. It wasn't that I was trying to stop this development. I don't really care one way or the other. Development's supposed to pay for development. But at what cost? Because we sit here as council and we're making these decisions, are we going to be the ones responsible down the road because we made the wrong decision knowing that we actually had the information in front of us and did nothing about it? Are we liable? I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Meadows. Any further comments from council? Councillor Simpson.
Through the chair, I just want to reiterate that I'm very concerned about the process that we've taken thus far. The MSP was completed in 2013. There has been updates since and addendums. Council in March 28th, 2024 specifically came together and made a motion noting that we would like to see an update. The reason we asked for the update was because we knew there were things in here that were dated. Councilor Meadows just noted page 342 of the agenda, where we were talking about roadways and road systems that needed to be upgraded. In 2024 budget, after much deliberation, we managed as a council to approve a transportation master plan. That transportation master plan was not done. That transportation master plan was changed, if you will, and the scope of that transportation master plan was changed. And the reason we needed studies like that were so that we could update these 2013 studies that had this information. We had that report, once the scope got changed, we've got that report, and all of us know we keep pushing it back because we don't like that study that was done. If you turn with me to page 351, you'll notice there's a few costs that are being noted here. There's costs with regard to wastewater, 351. In 354, you'll see costs, and 355, you will see cost estimates with regard to water. The numbers that are presented here are nowhere near what we are anticipating to spend. Today, we just signed, or we've, as a council, agreed to a TPA to receive $29 million from the province. About $30 million. We've already done a TPA in January with regard to $35 million. We are not collecting $65 million because the cost is going to be $7 million for this project. The anticipated cost for the wastewater was about $7 million, $7.8 million. Those numbers have changed. In 2016, the addendum to the report is what gave us the updated figures, and since then, we've been using that number, 16,000, as the connection charge for Everett. We have been using $6,000 as the connection charge for water in Everett. Those numbers are not adequate. In March 28th of 2024, when this council said we need to update that number because we as a council are concerned with these numbers and the presentations that are there, we specifically said we want an update because we're not satisfied. Once that response was there, I want to change this to March 4th of 2026. The same consultant that was in the room when we gave that direction sends us a response on March 2nd, 2026, almost a full year after our direction asking for an update. That is unacceptable. They cannot give a response 1 year later telling us, oh, hey guys, we've looked at this and we no longer need to do an update. Because that is not how that system works. When council gives a direction saying we want this done, the expectation is that it gets done. And I am disappointed that time and again, when directions are being made and decisions are being made in this council chamber, that they are not being followed through. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know what the rationale is, why decisions made by council are not being followed through. At our last special meeting, there was a question of whether there was some ambiguity in the direction. I can pull it up and read to you what the direction was. There's no ambiguity there. It was do a review and update the MSP. Because we need to see the numbers. Here we are going into negotiations for a subdivision agreement, and we don't have those numbers. We don't have the updates that we need. We are not going into these negotiations with the updated numbers that we need. Is the connection charge going to be 16,000? At this meeting, the special meeting that we just had last week, we gave direction again that we want those numbers updated. It cannot be 16,000 for wastewater connection. It cannot be 6,000 for water connection. So, and this is where I'm concerned, because when we go to this subdivision agreement that's going to come to us in 2 months or in a month, are we not going to have those appropriate numbers? Are we going to be going into this without knowing what we as a municipality are going to get? Because all of this comes to planning. You know, there's a lot of planning that needs to go into development. I mean, we've looked through this. I mean, respectfully, this is for today's meeting, we're looking at 763 pages of material, right? And I've read through the 2013 reports. heck, I even read through the comments that we had on there. Comments from residents, comments from neighboring municipalities. I mean, I'll even tell you one of the comments from New Tech, who didn't want to see the development and who didn't want to see Everett develop. And they noted a few issues. One was commercial and institutional needs analysis, which identified so much commercial space that would be needed to service the Everett development. As a council, I have not seen any documentation identifying any commercial spaces or any commercial lands being included as part of the Everett subdivision or in Everett generally. We are also talking about recreational needs, and that's something that the town of New Tecumseh identified. They stated that in our OPA, residents have traditionally been served by recreational facilities located in the town of New Tecumseh and at CFB Borden. And they've noted here that that is not appropriate, that we should be identifying areas of recreation within our own municipality. And that's a 2013 study. So we know that new things have happened, that changes have happened, that there's a change in the population in our own municipality. And I'm seeing more that disappoint me, that worry me. And while I have hope that, we can have an appropriate agreement with the developers and a proper subdivision, I'm concerned that we're entering negotiations without all that information that we really need. And, we've spoken about looking at Everett, having a more holistic plan. We have not, as a council, done that yet. We keep talking about it. I've brought it up, and I ask that the mayor take the initiative and ensure that there is something like that we as a council can do. So I guess my question to staff is, at this point, we are where we are. It's, 2024. When that direction was given, or 2025, March 28th, 2025. When the direction was given, why was it not taken up? 1. 2, we've given direction now to update the water connection fees and the wastewater connection fees. Will those numbers be updated, and will council see it before it comes for approval? Thank you.
Through your worship, on those two questions, the first one is, I'm not sure, but we brought the update, where we asked the consultant with regard to the EA and MSP, and this was the check that they did through the Ministry of the Environment with regard to that, and this is the letter or the wording that was produced. With regard to the connection fees, we did go out and ask for a quote for that work, and we're just waiting to hear back from that response. So when we do bring that forward, it would just be a request from staff to council when we get that that quote. So we can bring that forward because it would be a in-year addition to the budget. We're going to have to go back and ask for that. So we're waiting to hear back from our consultants for a quote for that.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up, Councillor Simpson?
No, none at this time. I'm just going to say that, we as a council should not be at the mercy of any consultant. If a consultant gives us information and we're not satisfied, and we as a council say we want an update done, and if that company does not want to undertake that we proceed with another company, with another consultant. And respectfully, I'm very concerned with the reports that I've gotten from this consultant, and the CYA letter that we received at the last special meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the topic? Okay. Just before I do, Councillor O'Leary, I wanted to acknowledge that we sat here on last Wednesday as council, and we've clearly decided a course of action on the topic. So this council has sent a clear message to staff as to how we like to proceed. Councillor O'Leary?
I have a question with regards to the outfall for the wastewater treatment plant. Have we established a location, and are we going to use a cooling pond, or are we directly dumping into the pine? Like, has that been established yet?
Mr. Kalamatu?
Through your worship, yes, we have, through this report, there are the two options, and there's a recommended one that was previously noted. It goes out to the pond, and right now we do have it emptying out into the old pond and then out into the river. There has to be an examination by the ministry to ensure that that is still the right thing to do, but that's what we have currently, as that was noted to be reviewed through the EA.
Councillor O'Leary?
And supplement with regards to what Anu was talking about, have we designated anything in Everett as commercial land? Like, I mean, it's got to be up to us. It's got to be designated commercial land, because you're going to have 5,000 people there before you know it. You got over 2,000 there now. You're going to need banks, grocery stores, gas stations, drug stores, you name it. You're going to need them all. And we need to know where the land is going to be and designate that as a commercial development so it can be serviced.
Mr. Kalamatu, and there is a small section of commercial, but if you'd like to elaborate on what's current in development, maybe Ms. Anderson could comment on that if she has those details.
Yes, before we go to Ms. Anderson to identify the specific commercial block, just also wanted to point out the fact that this both Farsight developments have gone through the OLT process. And so it has been determined for us through the OLT process what the development, the breakdown of the structure of the development with regard to residential, commercial, etc. That has been determined by the OLT, or approved by the OLT, I should say. But also wanted to point out that because of the OLT decisions, it's very difficult, if not impossible, depending on the circumstances, for that change because of that approval. But I'll turn it over to the director with regard to the specifics of that commercial block.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes, it's been identified in the draft plan conditions about the commercial blocks, both in the first phase of Farsight and then in the second Barzo phase.
Mr. Kalamatu?
Through your worship, as noted before, we will be putting all of the documents up on our website as noted previously. So as an example, a traffic impact study for the Farsight developments was most recently done in April of 2021. As previously noted last time, as an example, the most recent hydrological testing was done in February of 2020. And as previously noted before, as we move through the development, additional checks and balances will need to be done because, again, as noted, the MSP and the EA are at a high level. And so those updates are being submitted to not just the township, but also to the county, also to the Conservation Authority, ultimately through the ministry. So even though there was a high level and it is an older document, those pieces, as I repeat, those pieces of the document are updated often. As another example, the ministry will not give us a permit to take water on an older document. It will have to be needed right before the well does get drilled. And also, as requested by council last time, there has been a request to the developer to ensure that the monitoring wells for those hydrogeological assessments and an updated hydrogeological assessments are either kept in, and if they are not in place, for new ones to be put in place. And those assessments are done on an annual basis, so it will be through the summer. So just wanted to point that out from the direction of council. We have made those requests.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? I have Councillor Borzos. Sorry, Ron, did you have anything further?
I just wanted to follow up with the size of the commercial that's shown on the existing plans, because, I mean, if they're just little small strip malls with 3 or 4 stores, that's not adequate. Well, I know that's what it looked like to me, but if it's like 3 lots or 300 feet by 50 or 70 feet deep, I don't think that's adequate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Leary, and I completely agree with you. The commercial that's allotted for the R&M development is inadequate for the development, but as Mr. Kalamutu has indicated, there's no way of changing that unless there's a decision to go back to the OLT to make some red line revisions. So I think, to use the ship analogy, the ship has sailed, and we will continue to monitor that and to work out with future development commercial areas in the community of Everett so that we can make the best of the situation. But I completely agree with you. Councillor Borzos?
Yes, thank you, through the chair. I'm just sitting here and listening to all my colleagues, and I understand and I can appreciate how frustrating it may be for staff to deal with this issue, but unfortunately we just can't let go of this because it is way too much more important than anything else I can think of at this point in this township. And I just wanted to point out, just as an example, page 302 of 763.2.32, one sentence, one paragraph, existing population and population projections. It reads, the total equivalent population used to determine existing condition servicing requirements was 1,929 persons, based on the Simcoe County Water and Wastewater Visioning Strategy 2012. Now, what are we doing? Like quadrupling or more than quadrupling this number? So I supported Councillor Meadows' motion and seconded it last week because with respect to these updates to the master servicing plan, because it is just one little item out of 400 or 500 pages. It is almost impossible, and I don't know, I guess we all are articulate enough to read these things and understand them, but it's almost impossible to comprehend properly what is going on without flipping back and forth and not losing your thoughts and not losing the numbers. So that is why I would personally love to see a concise report. If it's updated by information that was provided in a separate report, that's fine. Somebody should just consolidate that into one single MSP and, for example, replace this section from 1929 and the date of 2012 with something a little more relevant to our lives that is today, 14 years later, and talking about tens of thousands of people, not talking about 1,900 people. Another example such as this is identified at several occasions how the water supply system will not be able to push the water to their consumer, to the end user, if there's more than 3,405 people is on that system. Now currently we have probably a little over 2,000 people who are on the water system in Everett, or just around 2,000 people. That means we have a capacity to build for 1,400 people. We talk a lot about the wastewater treatment facility, how it's going to service up to 10,000 people, but what about the water reservoir? Are we building it? I mean, it's there currently, but it's okay for 3,400 people. Why don't we focus on that as well as we do for wastewater? And again, this is something that we should be seeing and reading in one concise document, be it 450 pages, but with current data, not 12 to 15-year-old data, regardless of what the MOE says that, yes, okay, it's okay to be 10 years old, we can still work with it. Well, maybe not. I mean, it wasn't okay for them to push through building numbers from 10 years ago or 15 years ago. They had to update it. Now we have to build homes quickly. So I think we deserve some clarification. We deserve some consolidation of data so that we can understand it and discuss it in a proper way to help you, staff, as well as the people who are elected us to do this. So I don't know where we can go with this. I don't know if we can do a consolidation of the data into one report, but in short of having a brand new MSP, I think that would be the one acceptable thing for me personally. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just have a question back to Councillor Borzos, if I may. We had a thorough discussion last Wednesday, and there seems to be a bit of a shift as to what information was needed by council that time to this time in 1 week. So is there a request for additional information from staff that was not requested at last Wednesday's meeting that council now wants, or am I just reading into this a bit differently then?
Through the chair to the chair. I don't see my comment as requesting anything beyond what we requested last week. What I'm asking for is the information that the CAO offered as available information, simply being consolidated into one single document, not 7 different documents with amendments and additions and this and that, and just clean it up a little bit so that we no longer reference 2012 data. We reference something that is relevant today. And I think that was the essence, that was the foundation of what we were looking for last week, and I think that's what we are looking for today.
Okay, appreciate the clarification. So, and that's certainly what the CEO indicated last meeting that they can do. Unfortunately, I'm looking to Chris to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we can consolidate engineering reports into one because we don't have the permission of the authors. So I believe we can provide that information as the CEO has indicated on our website.
If I may supplement to that through the chair, I'm not sure if that's correct because once
That's
we
why
purchase,
I asked the CEO to clarify.
Okay, because we buy these documents, we order it, we pay for it, and it becomes our property. It's our intellectual property, so we can do whatever we want with it, technically. But
Fair point, but I believe the MSP was actually paid for by the developers, not the municipality, so it's not, maybe not our documents either, but through to the CAO.
Through your worship, depending on what the definition of consolidation is, if it is one document that just doesn't happen, it's never happened. It's never happened in the history of anything. However, what we can do is, as noted, we are going to be gathering up all of the latest documents and putting up on the website, as I think I've mentioned previously, both last week and earlier today. So as we do that, what we could do with regard to the Everett developments is put them into particular areas of concern. So for example, we can put water, anything to do with water, in one area and identify it, then wastewater, and then transportation, etc. So that is something that that we could do as we move forward with posting these for public view. And again, please note that we're just, as noted, that because all of the staff that are currently here were not here when this began, we are still looking for some documents, and that's what's taking a little bit of time, because it might have been handed to others, it might have been just with the engineers, it might have been put in a box somewhere. So we are doing our best to try to get anything that we do know that exists up onto the website. We are having a meeting with the engineers, because everything obviously is submitted to them also next week, to discover what they have that we may not. And so as we move forward, we can consolidate those particular aspects of the development and update them as they go through. Because I like to repeat again that there are often updates to many aspects of this. And again, as an example, before the well is dug and they have to know what size it will be, they have to do a permit to take water. And with a permit to take water, you need a hydrological report. And so it flows that way. If they're going to be taking a look at an intersection, for example, they're going to have to update again what the updated numbers are for Everett. And if the existing population of 2012 is different than the existing population of 2025, they're going to have to note that. There might be some updated numbers in Stats Canada, for example. And so as you move to engineering and building that intersection, those numbers have to be updated. So a traffic impact study must be updated. Like I said before, the most recent now is 2021. So they'll have those numbers in there. Those will be put up on the website. So again, with staff being extremely transparent, with staff identifying everything, with staff double checking, and also NVCA double checking, and also the ministry checking, and also all of our other partners checking on these things, we're not the only ones that review the updated data to ensure that they are appropriate. So as an example, last week, climate change was mentioned because there has been no growth in the Everett since maybe the 2012, but there might have been climate change. So example, when we send that updated hydrogeological study to NVCA, they take that into consideration. As noted previously, there are many, many checks and balances, many, many updates. And so we get those pieces and we will be putting those up on. And if any of the counselors would like to take a look at those, we're going to put them up as soon as we get them and as new ones come in. And so if there is a disagreement with regard to a flow or a hydrogeological study from anybody, they can again let us know. Again, as engineers that review it, as planners that review it, we do go through a lot of schooling. We do go through a lot of experience. I know as an engineer, you have to have 4 years experience before you can even apply to be a professional engineer. These are the type of things that we have to go through and understand. So, and again, I'm not speaking for staff. I'm speaking for those reviewers, those consultants, as an example. And planners the same way. They have to go through, they have to look for their license too. And they have to be involved and prove to the body that they can do this kind of work, that they can analyze this kind of work, that they can comment on this kind of work, that they can design this kind of work. So that all has to be proven as professionals. And so as a professional, we do hold those into high regards. As I said before, there could always be disagreements between professionals, and that does happen all the time. But again, as long as it's based on science and fact, that's what we're really looking for. And that's what the MECP is looking for. That's what the NVCA is looking for, and et cetera. So again, all of those double checks. To note the fact with regard to an EA process or an MSP process, those are again consolidating as the counselor pointed out. But it's also the requirements and the checks and balances that those particular processes go through. And that's one of the reasons why you don't often see two MSPs or two EAs, because the guts of it are updated often, but that whole process and putting it together then requires some additional approvals and additional submissions for it to go through different aspects of the ministry, for example, for approvals. And as those approvals for those specific processes, there is often a bottleneck because we, as municipalities and engineers submit so many, there is often a bottleneck. So even though we have all the information, to gather all that information and put it in a particular process, like an MSP process or an EA process, does take a considerable time and considerable money. And it could slow down the process. So depending on what individuals are looking for, I'm sure there is an updated report that we can provide for that. So if, whether it's taking a look at the hydrogeological aspects of Everett in 2020 or even 2026, that will be provided. It will actually be provided again in 2028 when they do dig the well, because they're going to have to do a permit to take water. That again needs approval from the ministry. If it is with the road, we can update it with regard to our transportation impact assessment. If it is wastewater, again, we're going to be having a tete-a-tete with our engineer with regard to flow. What wasn't mentioned is inflow and infiltration. So as an example, that wasn't thought of here or noted here, but as engineers, we know that as a system ages, there's inflow and infiltration. That also has to be an aspect of flow. So all of those things that the professionals think of and they can debate happen over and over again with regard to the development process. So again, it will take us some time as staff to provide and upload all of those updated documents onto the website, but we can absolutely identify them for their particular aspect.
Okay, thank you.
Might have lost
That's fine.
sight of the question, but hopefully it's been answered.
All right, I'll go to Deputy Mayor Locks.
My point of clarification, what I was looking for was, I believe the Greenland document that seems to be contested here as outdated, that has been updated. I believe you mentioned that the MECP approved that actual document that we got from Greenland.
Mr. Calamity.
Through your chair, through your worship, within the document, it was requested through the MECP about the EA process and the MSP process. And in my report, on the second page, the wording of the paragraph that says the MECP went on to note, that is a direct quote from the MECP. So it's not the fact that we just got the information. We asked them to put it in writing, and that one that's in writing is right within this report, quoting it, quote for quote from the ministry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions on the report? Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, and also in the report, it stated that the EA is required prior to the outflow location. We don't have an outflow location, guys. Whether we have an outflow location in either situation, we're going to have to have some sort of certain study, an EA addendum done to the EA. So the EA has not been done, it's not complete, and it's part of the process. Yeah, yeah. States right in the documents. If you read the documents, it says if we don't go with the one location, the other location needs a complete EA done. Yeah, it's over, and that process will take over a year, they said, 6 months to a year.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions on the report? All right, seeing none, there is a recommendation. That staff report CAO 2026, 1 dated March 11, 2026 regarding Everett Development Update be received. And based on the information and direction provided at the March 4th, 2026 special council meeting, the works as outlined in the Development Earthworks Agreement between Fireside Homes and the Township approved on January 14th, 2026 be permitted to proceed. Do I have a mover for that recommendation?
I'd like to make an amendment to that if I could, please.
Thank you. Councillor Meadows, I'm going to put the motion as recommended on the floor first and then entertain any amendments thereafter.
Okay.
So do I have a mover for this recommendation? Moved by Councillor Cox. Seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Locks. Okay, and Councillor Meadows, you wish to add an amendment?
Yeah, amendment to bylaw 26-003, Farside Home Development Earthworks Agreement. I move based on the information provided in the staff report in response to my notice of motion on the Everett development Staff be directed to inform the developer, Farside Homes in Everett, that the earthworks agreement approved by council shall be suspended and no work shall commence until such time that the updated reports for the environmental assessment and master servicing plan are provided to council for approval. And further, that the master servicing plan and environmental assessment be updated only after the Everett outflow location has been secured by council resolution, so that council can then make an informed decision based on the updated reports and whether all requirements and documents are in place. And further, that only after securing the outflow location and approved studies by resolution of council shall the earthworks agreement move forward by the developer. I'll give the clerk a copy of that if I can.
Sure, actually, I'll take it if you don't mind.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna go seek some clarification from Madam Clerk. That's a lot to digest at the moment. And again, I'm leaning towards that's a reconsideration of a council previously directed resolution and a council previously directed bylaw. So if you're asking for the bylaw to be rescinded, that would be a reconsideration, because I think you use that words in here. Is you?
I would take out the rescinded and just put amended, because we're not getting rid of the earthworks agreement, we're just changing the date.
In changing.
So we get the documents. Yeah, well, I guess we're rescinding the original bylaw and adding that to the other bylaw.
Do you want this? Okay, so I think that's the trouble I'm still having with, you're taking a previously actioned item from council, which was under bylaw, and asking to amend a bylaw to change the date that had already previously been approved. So I'm still leaning towards that as a reconsideration, because now you're reconsidering the date of the bylaw of enactment. So.
Well, I guess it's basically what we did the last time. We approved that bylaw way back when, and then we rewrote it to accommodate things today.
Yes, but there was several years in between that.
Yeah, well.
And staff came back with the justification that they needed to strengthen the previously worded bylaw so that council and the township had additional protection within the new earthworks agreement, so.
Well, as a council, I think we need protection for what we don't have, which is the documents needed to proceed forward with this development, and also the contracts we're signing with the provincial government.
Okay, and I can understand that concern, Councillor Meadows. Again, I think we had a thorough discussion last Wednesday at our council meeting about these topics. There was no concern raised at the time that council had any desire to not proceed with the earthworks or other works with the development, and we're satisfied with what documentation we did have at the time. So I do.
Point of clarification.
Find it interesting. So I'm going to go to the Madam Clerk first and just get some opinion as to the possible amendment. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Council. At the March 4th meeting, Council did move on to the floor and voted on a motion that requested staff to bring forward an updated master servicing plan in EA. That motion was defeated. Since this motion provides the same direction, this motion or this amendment to the main motion would actually be reconsideration of the motion that was defeated at the March 4th meeting and can't be dealt with in this manner. If council wishes to reconsider that motion that was considered at the March 4th meeting, it would have to be brought forward as a notice of motion at the April regular council meeting, at which time council could have a 2/3 vote to reopen the matter and then reconsider it.
Can we do a reconsideration now by suspending the rules of procedure?
So it is my understanding we could suspend the rules of procedure tonight, but that the reconsideration would still appear as a notice of motion at the next council meeting, because we have to provide notice to council itself. Madam
Well,
Clerk. I'm
here's-
looking
here's
for
the
clarif-
pro-
I'm
here's the
looking for
problem.
clarification, but I think that would, regardless of procedures, I think you're asking for a reconsideration, which if council wishes to do so tonight, would be 2/3 majority vote to reconsider the item. And then that item would then be placed on the next council meeting agenda for reconsideration, as a notice of motion. And I don't actually believe we have to suspend the rules of procedure to do that. But if we want to make it crystal clear, we could do that. Madam Clerk, just for clarification.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in accordance with our procedure bylaw, notice of motion can be stated verbally at a regular council meeting, upon which it would be considered at the next regular council meeting. Should council wish, they could waive the rules of procedure to waive that stipulation at this evening's meeting. So that would require a 2/3 vote of council because you're overriding your procedure bylaw, followed by a second 2/3 vote to open up the reconsideration, and then you would be permitted to re-vote on the motion that was tabled at the March 4th council meeting.
So we could do that.
Through the chair, I don't believe
Sorry,
Councillor Meadows' motion.
Sorry, Councillor Simpson, I haven't recognized you yet. I'm just looking to clarify before we get
I think
going.
my clarification will assist you in what you're looking for. In March 4th, that motion that Councillor Meadows introduced did not go on the floor because it failed to have a seconder.
No, it was seconded and it was defeated. So your memory does not serve you right on that.
You seconded it, right?
It was seconded and defeated, so it would be reconsideration. So if you just, please bear with me for one moment.
Mayor's got the copy.
So Madam Clerk, and again, this is a bit messy doing this live, but we'll work through this. So the reconsideration section 21.12, a motion to reconsider a previous decision of council at a subsequent meeting. So if we were reconsidering the March 4th motion, may only be introduced by a member who voted in the majority, so Councillor Meadows would not be able to introduce a motion. Why? Because you didn't vote in the majority. The decision was made and who was not present, or who was not present at the meeting when the decision was made. And second, shall be introduced as a notice of motion in accordance with section 715 for consideration. So again, a member of council who voted against the motion at the last meeting could, under notice of motion, put a motion to reconsider, and then that would be discussed. Okay. So Councillor Borzo's comment. So this, again, we're talking about procedures at the moment and not actually on the motion itself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, through the chair. Could we hear the motion one more time? Because from what I gather, I don't know, I'm not convinced that this particular motion has anything to do with the one that he presented last week. We never talked about earthworks agreement on March 4th. We talked about MSP. We talked about other things, or MSP coming back to us. I'd like to just hear it one more time, if it's possible.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could read it and maybe potentially provide some commentary as you do read it, so that, of your opinion, because I think that's what we're looking for, as to whether it's if that meets the threshold of was that discussed and voted on at the March 4th meeting, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through to council, if I may, before I do that, as a reminder, the motion that was defeated at the March 4th special council meeting read that staff be directed to proceed as follows: a review and updated master servicing plan, including any required studies, and an update to the EA with relation to the outfall location. So that was defeated at the March 4th meeting. The amendment that's being put forward at this time reads as follows: based on the information provided in the staff report in response to my, Councillor Meadows, notice a motion on the Everett development, staff be directed to inform the developer, Farsight Homes in Everett, that the earthworks agreement approved by council shall be suspended, and no work shall commence until such time that updated reports for the environmental assessment and master servicing plan are provided to council for approval. So again, those two items were defeated by council at the last meeting. And further, that the master servicing plan and environmental assessment be updated only after the Everett outfall location has been secured by council resolution, so that council can make an informed decision based on the updated reports and whether all requirements and documents are in place. And further, that only after securing the outfall location and approved studies by resolution of council shall the earthworks agreement move forward by the developer. And as a reminder to council, the earthworks agreement, the mayor and clerk were authorized to sign the earthworks agreement, which we have done.
Okay. So again, based on the procedures here, are there any questions to the clerk on allowing this motion to proceed, or is there looking for comment from council? Not on the motion, but the procedures for the motion itself. I haven't made a ruling as of yet, so I'm looking for council opinion because I've heard it from the clerk. Is there any appetite to further discuss the procedural matter at hand?
Right.
Councillor Borzos?
Thank you. Through the chair, I guess I concede the fact that in its current format, the way it reads, it does have resemblance to the March 4th motion. So I guess it would be a reconsideration in its current format. Thank you.
All right, so seeing no other question, Councillor Meadows?
The thing is, this is to do with the earthworks agreement. The reason why I asked for the notice of motion with regards to the information with regards to the MSP, provide us with the updated reports from the MSP and from the EA, the current EA. We didn't have those documents in front of us to make that informed decision with regards to, and also the outflow location, okay? We didn't have that information. This is all new information. People have read this new information now because it's in front of them. And I believe this is a new motion because now we have the current information in front of us that shows clearly that we need more information, especially when it comes to the outflow location. That's not on there. That we have to be responsible to get that information. And that's exactly what this is. Just so that we can hold off until we get that information, especially with the outflow location. And also the subdivision agreement, because we're stuck if we don't get that signed as well. I mean, there's all sorts of things you could put in there. So, if there's changes that need to be made to this motion, let me know.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Meadows. So, again, I believe council's been fairly comfortable with the direction to proceed with the earthworks agreement and the update that we received at the council meeting last week on March 4th. So I don't believe there's any intent to have those documents prepared before making a decision, since we've already made the decision. And as the CEO has indicated, the information will be provided on the website and to council for updates so that everyone is aware of what reports the municipality has. And we would continue working through those reports through the development. And that would include any additional agreements such as a subdivision agreement would be supported by additional studies and information that the township requests of the developer. So those items would still be forthcoming to make decisions at a later time on this item. So with that said on the item, the motion is contrary to the original motion on the floor and is a reconsideration. So I will not permit that on the floor.
Could I do a motion to override the mayor's decision?
And my justification, no, because again, you're the one that's moving a motion, and by procedure, you're not permitted to move the motion to amend, to reconsider. So a ruling.
Somebody else moved the motion.
Well, that would be up to council. But I'm ruling as of right now that the motion that's been provided on desk is a reconsideration of the earthworks agreement and of the decision of council last Wednesday. So council, there is a main motion pending on the table, which I have read. Are there any further questions to that motion? Okay, seeing none.
Could I have a recorded vote, please?
Yes, sir. So, Madam Clerk, the Councillor Meadows has requested a recorded vote on item 14.4.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Meadows, in favor or against?
In favor?
Councillor Borzos, in favor or against?
Abstained.
Councillor Cox, in favor or against?
Abstain.
Councillor O'Leary, in favor or against?
Clarification.
On the motion or on process?
What am I gonna vote for here?
You're voting on the main motion
To pass it or not?
to pass the staff report.
I pass it,
So that's a yes?
yes.
In favor.
For clarifications, Councillor O'Leary, that's in favor?
Excuse me?
That's in favor?
Yes.
Councillor Simpson, in favor or against?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Locks, in favor or against?
In favor.
And Mayor Anderson, in favor or against?
In favor?
That's 5 in favor, 2 abstained.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-2. Okay, we're on to item 14.5, which is staff report CLK 2026-4, use of municipal resources during municipal election. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Council. In preparation for the 2026 municipal and school board election, which is being held on October 26th of 2026, staff have completed a review of our current use of municipal resources during an election period policy in accordance with the terms of that. The proposed policy in front of you tonight builds upon the previous policy with some additional clarification in terms of social media accounts, additional definitions to add greater clarity, as well as some provisions related to township photography, as we now have a formal communications division here at the township. Use of corporate resource policies are required to be in place prior to May 1st, according to the MEA. Following this meeting, if this policy is adopted, staff will proceed to provide training for other staff prior to the election period. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions through to the clerk? Councillor Simpson?
Through the chair, to the clerk. A question with regard to section 5.1.4, the use of township logos, crests, slogans, and brand coloring or branding. I have a question about that because historically, in my own campaigning, I've always used blue. And I believe the blue is somewhat similar to the blue that we have there. Is that a problem?
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Simpson, the intention of those provisions is to ensure that no campaign materials are misrepresented as township-produced materials.
So I'm assuming that that means that I can use blue. With regard to township logo then, there's a note in here that links to the township website may have an exception. So if one were to utilize the logo of the municipality as a link to the municipality, I take this wording to mean that that is acceptable. Would that be acceptable?
No. Madam Clerk?
The wording.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just reviewing the specific provision that Councillor Simpson is referring to?
5.1.4, page 4 of 7.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson, for the question. That section relates to not the use of the logo, but saying you may provide a link to the township website on your campaign website. The use of the corporate logo is reserved only for staff.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Any further questions with regards to the policy? Okay, seeing none. So there is a recommendation that staff report CLK 2026-4 dated March 11, 2026 regarding use of municipal resources during a municipal election policy be received, and that council consider the necessary bylaw to adopt the policy attached as attachment 1. Moved by Councillor Simpson and seconded by Councillor Cox. Any further questions? All those in favor? That is carried. All right, we're on to item 15 now, which is correspondence, and there is one item, so I do have declared a conflict of interest on that item. So I'll vacate my seat and hand the chair over to the Deputy Mayor to chair this section, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item of business is from the consent agenda, item number 13.4, application for special occasions permit from Scott Anderson, Secretary Treasurer of the Lisle Astros Baseball Club. The recommendation reads that the application from the Lisle Astros Baseball Club dated February 19th, 2026 regarding request for special occasion permit for the annual Victoria Day weekend baseball tournament be received, and that council has no objection to the Lisle Astros Baseball Club receiving a special occasions permit for the Liquor License Board of Ontario to have licensed beer garden at their Victoria Day weekend baseball tournament at the Ross Houston Memorial Park in Lisle from May 16th to May 18th, 2026, provided the following conditions are met: that there is no liability to the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio, that the club abides by the conditions set out in the alcohol policy for special occasion permits adopted by Council Resolution dated April 2nd, 2001, that all conditions of the fire department are abided by, and that the following items are submitted to the township by May 8th, 2026. Proof of the servers having completed a Smart Serve program, proof of liability insurance covering both the event and the serving of alcohol with the township added as an additional insured, and a facility rental application contract deposit and appropriate fees submitted. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Cox, can I get a seconder? Councillor O'Leary. Any questions on this motion? Councillor Meadows.
Yeah, this issue comes up every year, and I've always had issues with us using our parks for beer gardens and stuff like that. And it's not that I have anything against the Lisle Astros or anything like that. It's just, where is this going to go? That means soccer tournaments and other stuff that's going on in our parks. We have to open it up for liquor licenses for people. I don't think it's right, because these people have to drive on the roads afterwards. If they get in an accident, doesn't matter whether they have $2 million liability coverage. If it's higher, we're third party and we're going to get nailed. Every year I've stated the same thing. I lost a friend to drinking and driving, and I just don't want to see other families have the same thing happen to them, especially if there's kids involved. So I can't support this, and I'm sorry, but I just can't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll call the question.
Can I have a recorded vote on this, please?
Madam Clerk, can we get a recorded vote requested by Councillor Meadows, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Locks. Councillor Meadows, in favor or against?
I'm against.
Councillor Borzos, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Cox, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor O'Leary, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Simpson, in favor or against?
Abstain.
And Deputy Mayor Locks, in favor or against?
In favor.
That's 4 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstain. That's 4 to 2.
Okay, that motion's carried. We'll now pass the chair back to Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You notice I got that right. We are on to item 16, which is bylaws. So 16.1 is bylaw 2026-14 transfer payment agreement. So the bylaw 2026-014 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a transfer payment agreement for the municipal housing infrastructure program, health and safety, water stream be enacted. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Deputy Mayor Shirley Slocks. Keep reminding you of that. And Councillor Cox, you're seconding that motion? Okay. Any further questions on the transfer payment agreement?
Can I have a recorded vote, please?
You certainly may. Madam Clerk, a request from Councillor Meadows for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Meadows, in favor or against?
Against?
Councillor Borzos, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Cox, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor O'Leary, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Simpson, in favor or against?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Locks, in favor or against?
In favor.
And Mayor Anderson, in favor or against?
In favor?
That's 6 in favor, 1 against.
Thank you. The motion carries 6-1. So we're on to item 16.2, bylaw 2026-15, use of resources during municipal election. And the recommendation is that bylaw 2026-015 being a bylaw to establish the use of municipal resources during a municipal election be enacted. Mover for this recommendation, Councillor Cox. Seconder, please. Councillor Borzos. Any further questions on this item? All those in favor? And that is carried. And then we're on 16.3, bylaw 2026-16, library service agreement with Clearview Public Library Board. Recommendation is that bylaw 2026-016 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a library service agreement with the Clearview Public Library Board be enacted. Mover, please. Councillor Borzos, second by Councillor O'Leary. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that is carried. Item 17 are notices of motion. Items from council. Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, can I put that motion that I had forward, put on the notice of motion, please, for the next council meeting?
So again, I would say, look, I'm going to look for clarification, but again, from the interpretation of the motion, it would be a reconsideration, and you did not vote in the affirmative of that motion. So you wouldn't be able to move a motion to reconsider.
Why not? You're not moving it? Oh. Okay.
Okay. Any other notices of motion from members of council? Okay. All right, item 18 is new business, and there was none that was added. And we're, sorry, Chris, comment?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just before we end, I did want to go back to an answer that we could not give earlier because we had to search for it, but just did want to point out from the previous report with regard to our water, is that table 5 that has a summary of lead testing, so it is included in there, and it is noted on page 8 of 12 in that report. So their lead is tested in 2 different areas within the entire system. One is in the plumbing and one is in the distribution. and it is noted within that report that it is negligible. It's not applicable. It could not be. It was so low that it didn't have a number. So I just wanted to ensure that I get that information out for the public that is viewing today and here today, that it is in the report, it is in a table, and it is so low that it couldn't be tested. And as I noted again, previously, that the exceedance maximum allowable is 10 micrograms, which is extremely small, and it wasn't detectable by the equipment being used. Thank you.
All right, appreciate the clarification, and I would comment as well that those reports, again, will be published on our website, and if there are questions from residents or council, that we can follow up with our staff and we can get some answers from Aqua if there are additional questions on that. Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, is there any way, we could send out to the Rosemont residents just a clarification that the sodium levels, what they are, and that, just for health reasons?
And if I might,
That's what
if
I
I
mean,
may
yeah.
suggest, Councillor Meadows, that we repair the well before we do that. Because
Repair
currently
the-
we're not using Rosemont water. So they're not drinking Rosemont water at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But I would think in the future, we could look at that. If
No,
the-
I'm just looking at all the levels that are currently there, like,
Yes, those were for the first 6 or 7 months of the year,
7 months, yeah.
2025, and not for the remainder.
but before that, it was also a problem, so that's why I'm just saying, like, once the well's fixed, I guess, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if the test results do indicate that we would need to provide notice, we would certainly do that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so item 19.1 is a confirmation bylaw, that bylaw 2026-017 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio at its regular council meeting held on March 11th, 2026, be enacted. A mover, please. Councillor Cox, seconder, please. Councillor O'Leary. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we are adjourned at 9:36 p.m.